when we're ready. Great. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Just want to do a little housekeeping first. If you have a cell phone with you, please put it on silent or vibrate. And if there's a need to have any conversation, please step outside and have the conversation. Oh, well, okay. Well, I think everyone heard that part. All right. So a regular meeting of the City Planning Board will be held on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, room 206 on the second floor of Mount Vernon City Hall. Applicants and members of the public will be permitted to attend and make public comments via in-person attendance and Zoom. Item number one is the roll call. I'm going to start on my left-hand side.
Jamel Thompson.
Darrell Celsey.
Vivian Salmon.
Do we have anyone logged in? Any other commission? Okay. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. Okay, item number two is the approval of the March 5th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Item number three, administrative items. 3.1, 10-16 East Broad Street, section 16530, block 1018, lot 3, in the R1-45 single family residence district. Good evening. I believe we have counsel with us today. Mr. Fonte, how are you? Very well.
Hold on one minute.
Here you go.
Okay, we'll start.
Then if you wouldn't mind, just state your name for the.
Robert Fonte, I'm here for the owners of 1016 Broad Street, Mount Vernon, New York, and what we're seeking is the extension of the approvals. We have already gone through the Zoning Board of Appeals. There was an original approval granted in January of 2018 for area and use variances necessary to construct a new 6-story 44-unit apartment building at that site. Thereafter, in February of 2019, the planning board granted approvals of the site plan, and thereafter, a building permit was obtained. Demolition was completed, but the actual building was not constructed due to the economic climates of COVID. Nothing was done thereafter. A new permit was applied for in the beginning of 2024, and it was not granted. So therefore, we've been back and forth with the city thereafter, trying to get this approval. We've spoken to the mayor several times. She has stressed to us that we are to go forward with the market rate apartment complex with no pilot. We've agreed to do that. And therefore, we've made the applications to both the prior boards and your board tonight for the approvals of the extension for an additional 2-year period. Based on the statutes, the way that I came up with that is the code basically has a 2-pronged system. The first prong having to do with the issuance of the building permit, which it was issued within 1 year of the actual approval being obtained. Thereafter, there should be a 2-year period. The actual permit was issued 1/28 of 22, which should have extended it for another 2 years. That did not happen. So my intention tonight is to seek an approval of a 2-year period to allow the construction, the permits to be issued and the construction of the building to be completed within that time frame under the second prong of the statute. There is a discretionary 1-year period that is allowed based on circumstances like COVID and the economic climates that we've had over the last few years. And that's where my additional years is request is being made.
And it's my understanding from the work session yesterday that ARB and zoning have also weighed in and have approved.
Yes, they have.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for anything that you wanted to add. This is administrative. Okay, all right. So I guess in terms of we don't have to open it up for,
No, it's not a public hearing.
Okay.
I mean, the applicant sign.
Right.
By the public.
Yep.
It's not.
okay. Just wanted to make sure, thank you. Okay, great, yes, counsel.
Yes. Yes, that's acceptable. One other point also is nothing's changed. The plans are exactly as approved before. The climate has not changed in the area also, so it's basically the same approvals. There's no change in the plans nor the conditions.
Any further questions, Commissioner Trolio, Salmon?
No, at the, not at the time.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so I would like to, I guess, make a motion to approve the extension requested with 1 year to get obtain the building
Permit.
permit, and then 2 years for
Construction.
the completion of the building itself.
Thereafter.
Being that it's an extension, we do not need to have a resolution for this, do we? Yes. We do still have to, okay, so basically, I'm going to just amend the motion that I just made. So I'm gonna make a motion for staff to draft a resolution approving the extension 1 year for the obtaining the building permit and 2 years to complete the construction after that 1 year period of time.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a
Mr.
good
Martin.
evening.
You as well. So item number 4, it's my understanding, this is, anyone is here in regards to 6-8 Mount Vernon Avenue. This actually, the attorney for the applicant has requested that this be adjourned, so they will not be here this evening. They will be here for the May meeting. 4.2, case number PB 25 1896 South Columbus Avenue. Let's see, everything has been noticed properly on this application? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, the owner is Christopher Rooney of 896 South Columbus Avenue LLC, represented by Emmanuel Diamore. Their lead design professional. The applicant is requiring a site plan approval to rehabilitate the existing 2-story manufacturing building into a storage facility. Existing windows will be blocked off to improve security and the building's thermal envelope. Good evening.
Good evening. Emmanuel Diamore from the Moore Studio in White Plains, New York. Should I put the post up?
Please, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for having us tonight. So basically, like you mentioned, it's an existing 2-story facility around 28,000 square feet. It used to be manufacturing. The client purchased it with the intention to convert it into a storage facility. It's for his own business. And like you said, there is for improving security and thermal proofing the building. they're planning to block off the existing windows and providing a complete EFS wrap up. We have actually called two people, neighbors, called me up with a notice, actually approving, going forward with this application. They're in favor. Again, there was a neighbor behind us, and they own several properties around the area. And there was a neighbor, I think it's a church next to the cemetery, or I believe it's a structure, the owner next to the cemetery. They also called us, asking, what is the status, and they'd like to.
Do we have these letters from the?
In, you have the hard copies of the objection letters. There was only one letter that I got. And this has been sent. That's the only thing I got about it.
All right, so if you have a copy of anything that you would like to submit, please.
I asked them to, if, they will send us a letter with the approval. I haven't got anything yet, but I will follow up with them, sure.
Okay. Thank you. Please continue.
So, yes, that's pretty much. This existing facility has, we're not disturbing.
I'm sorry, could you speak a little bit just so that?
Sorry.
We also have.
So this is the site plan. We're not disturbing any of the existing parking spaces that we have. It's a shared driveway within the existing building and the neighbor. So, pretty much all the existing surrounded areas of the buildings, they're kept as existing.
And what's the size? How many storage units are in the structure itself?
Really much is not,
If you could just take the microphone out of the thing and just hold it and make it easier for everyone to hear. Thank you.
so it's not an actual, I'm not sure exactly how many cubics they're gonna be here, because they are planning to subdivide it pretty much between the columns. So there will be this as a corridor, and they're filled in with partitions. It's pretty much, they have a storage facility they're moving, the business is to move furniture around. So a lot of people, they undersized, so they go from a 3-bedroom to a 1-bedroom, and pretty much they store their furniture. And that's what they're doing in this facility, just storing the furniture. So these cubicles are for separating, owners of each, of their own
So
space,
this is strictly for furniture storage?
storage, home goods storage, yes. And there's this, it's pretty much inside the existing bathrooms, they remain the same, so there is very little disturbance within the, inside structure. The main disturbance is, again, blocking off the perimeter windows and wrapping up the building.
All right, I guess I'm still a little concerned or confused, I should say. In terms of not knowing the number or the size of the breakdown of the units that we're talking about.
I could definitely get the exact number for you, like a
Yeah, I
layout.
mean, it would be very helpful, so we have an idea. And also in terms of any study in terms of, because we do have a lot of storage facilities within the city. So just want to, to see, the reason why you felt that this is something that is needed
Is,
in the area.
well, it's not a self-storage facility. So the clients, the people having furniture there, they don't have direct access. They have to have permission from the client to go in and move out the furniture. So there is no traffic of people coming in and out. There is not open to the public. It's only open for the employees. They come in, load their goods.
So this is not a typical storage facility.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's not a self-storage facility.
Okay,
It's a storage of home goods.
to store, okay, of home
Could
goods,
be a
okay.
bed, could be a table, chairs.
Okay.
Some people store art, so that's why
Okay.
it has to be temperature control.
Oh,
So, but
okay.
there is no access for, people to come in.
Okay, so that.
And service
Okay,
themselves.
so now I'm understanding more so in terms of why there's an open space in terms of what's
Exactly.
going
They
on,
call
because
in
it's
and
not-
say, I want my furniture
Okay.
now in Florida. We
Right.
picked,
No,
they
no,
picked up
that-
box
okay.
2 and they drop it.
So the
All right.
only people in the facility would just be the employees. of the
Employees
business.
only.
Okay,
Okay.
so now, okay, so understand, and that's different than
Than
most that we have in the city right now,
Okay,
so,
all right.
so.
Is this model someplace else that you can reference to so that you can have a better understanding of the flow? Is there
Ben
another
is not
model
here,
within
unfortunately.
Westchester County or?
He
someplace
has
else?
a number of facilities exactly the same. Fortunately, he's not here yet.
Okay.
He told me he was gonna be here, maybe a little earlier. But he has the exact same model in different parts. I believe he does have another facility in Mount Vernon or in Yonkers. And it's the exact same model. And he's very successful doing this. That's why he wants to repeat it.
So resident pays a cost for this particular storage area. And I guess they make the arrangements for their furniture to be delivered appropriately to wherever the location is, right?
Correct. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 2 months. But again, because depends on the client, some people have art and different, so that's why the building is intended to be temperature controlled, has several regulations regarding that.
So
it's
it's
a whole
maybe,
thing area,
yeah, so it's been like a short-term
short-term.
moving situation, basically.
Correct.
So the other facilities that the applicant owns, are they all, is Our Way, is that the name of the?
That's the name of the moving, yes, that's the
Okay, so
brand,
the other facilities would have that same name.
the same name.
So, all right, let's see what that's. Point of that, all right.
And I know you mentioned the parking. How many parking spaces are there?
Believe it's 18 parking spaces. Again, the intention is that this is existing parking. So they're not changing any of them. Besides, it's only for employees. Only employees parks here. So it is, very, very little use of the parking at all.
And approximately how many employees would there
He
be?
mentioned about 2 to 3 people there potentially, because the only real movement is when you have the trucks coming in. And the idea is that they come in directly into this loading deck over here. So it's no disturbance to the traffic. They just come in, unload, and then, the other employees will move in that furniture, wherever cubicle has to go, but again, in the facility, they're expecting 2 to 3 people.
All right,
Is this a
so,
9 to 5? or just-
I mean, it's more than 9 to 5. Yeah, no,
extended hours?
yeah, these are employees' hours, so.
so if I'm bringing furniture, sold my house and I need to store it. And so I've hired movers that come to the facility. Are the movers that I hired bringing the stuff inside, or the employees? How is that working out?
No, it's all throughout our way movement, our way move, right? So you hire them,
So, okay, so it's the company itself. You hire the company and the company. Okay,
that's the moving
Now I
and
got
the
it.
storage.
now I
It's
understand.
the same company.
Got it. Okay, so it's the moving company and it's their storage facility okay, now I got it.
So how many trucks does Our Way have?
Oh, no, they have tons of trucks.
And
This is
they storing the trucks where?
no, they're not storing the trucks in this location. They might store it in a different location. This location is only to
Just
moving,
storage.
just to storage.
And in terms of the flow of traffic, how many trucks, do you anticipate, going there on a daily basis?
Obviously, depends on the time of the year, but they anticipate about 2 to 3 every day. Yes, but like I said, the traffic is not impacting, the movement of the truck is not impacting the traffic of Columbus Avenue. There is this curb cut in the front along this Columbus Avenue for the trucks to pull them backwards and unload. So there is no disturbance to Columbus traffic whatsoever.
And what's the size of the trucks and the load that they're going to? 'Cause we want to make
The,
sure that the city's, the city infrastructure, the streets can withstand the weight.
these are not 18-wheelers or anything like that.
Okay, so
They're-
tell me, what are we talking about?
I am, the client will be excellent to answer that question. But as my understanding, are those the largest, I believe it's like they call it the 3-bedroom apartment or something. I think they're like 25 feet or 28 foot long. I believe that's
All right, so
my
is-
understanding.
Is
They're,
is the applicant coming today or is he not? Because these are questions that we'll definitely need for the next meeting. 'Cause
No,
we need to
definitely.
know.
he should be here. He
Okay.
mentioned that he was gonna be here tonight.
Okay. And in terms of the route that they're going to be taking to get to the facility also. Because we want to make sure, again, that there's not too much weight in certain areas.
Definitely, these are trucks that you see throughout Mount Vernon every single minute. They're not, anything larger than the usual moving trucks.
So you just said on Columbus Avenue, they drive in or they back into that facility?
Definitely back in
Back, so there will be interruption to the traffic because they have to wait.
some
for-
point.
For the truck to come and turn, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been into the facility many times. I never seen any issue, coming in and pulling back. I found that the traffic is not that heavy. The several times I went there, I haven't expected anything,
Columbus can get busy around that area.
depending on the time. However, they're smart the way they come in and deliver things.
Okay.
So they're probably not going to be delivering things at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 9 o'clock in the morning. And usually those are the times where they are picking up stuff. So,
Okay, can you just, like on the rendering, like to show exactly, where the trucks are going to be going and,
unfortunately, that rendering, it doesn't show that angle. But let's see if this elevation shows here. This is the front of the building. If you see the rendering, this is the front door all the way to the right. And then this is the door where they're loading. So unfortunately, the angle of the rendering, you don't see it because it's a little,
one that we don't see.
the one that you don't
So-
see.
So we're gonna want to see that.
No problem. We'll get another rendering for it. But because it's recessed on that picture, you don't see it.
I understand. Like to see all the elevations, so we could really get a sense.
No problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
You want to talk about the lighting plan, security plan as well?
Security, it's obviously throughout the property, around the perimeter, cameras.
Okay, how many cameras are there going to be?
I have to get you that number exact. I'm not sure.
Come back, if you could show us a detailed plan in terms of the
Cameras,
security plan, exactly
security
where
plan.
they're gonna be,
Okay,
okay? And also the lighting, the type of lighting that you're gonna have as well.
perfect.
Landscaping plan, okay? Yeah, I mean, I see a little bit here in terms of, right, couple little areas where you can potentially have some type of landscaping. So we want to see, what you're thinking about doing. Even though it's an industrial area, we like to beautify areas as much as possible.
Okay.
So a landscape plan would be, helpful.
My memory is really bad. Do you mind? Just want to take a few notes.
Then in regards to the cameras, we always ask for a minimum of a 60-day retention period
On the,
on the filming, right?
okay,
And also facing out so that just, the front ones to cover the street also, so that we can, if there are any cars going by, they would be able to see license plates, things of that nature. That may aid public safety.
Okay.
You have a lighting plan? He's gonna come back with, oh,
we have on the building permit application an interior lighting plan. But I think you're more
yeah,
focusing on the exterior.
We wanna see the outside.
Okay.
And then it would be helpful also, to Commissioner Thompson's point, just in regards to traffic flow. I mean, is it gonna be in the morning during rush hour? You know, just want to get a sense in terms of when the trucks actually come.
Understand.
And to also get to find out exactly the hours of operation. Okay? Is it 7 days a week, 5 days a week, you know, what is it exactly?
Also discuss the stormwater plan, potentially.
Again, because we haven't disturbed the existing building, so we are expecting to reuse the exact same, drainage plans as the building has currently. So
What-
the,
do you-
the
do you
roof
know what you
drains,
you know what you currently have there?
it's a roof drain that goes to a sewer,
That goes to the sewer?
believe so. Or that's how, we're not intended, we haven't, disturb any of the existing drainage plan.
I mean, any application that comes before us, 100% of stormwater needs to be retained on that property.
Even if it's like a grandfather in.
Has to be retained on the property.
Okay, so then if there is an existing the retention system,
If there's an existing retention system, we want to know what it is.
Okay.
And the size of it, how many chambers there are, the depth, all of that.
Good.
Commissioner Trolley, anything you'd like to?
Sorry. Because that's an old property, right?
It's no property, but.
very old.
We're looking for that. It's not.
Commissioner Salmon,
Yes, I have a question around the windows.
move that towards you.
Yes, I have a question around the windows. You said you're blocking out the windows at this time, or has it already been done?
I believe some of the work has already started and they have, some stop work order or something. I believe we filed the application, we started in 2023. It took almost 6 months until building department approved the application.
Mhm.
And it's been approved in 2024, about a year ago. And, it took a while to get here. I think the client had to start moving some things around and they might have started some work, yeah.
And what type of material is that?
EFIS,
Okay.
yes. So it's already, adding and improving the insulation because not adding from the inside, but it's adding this wrap of insulation on the exterior.
And you said that it's going to be temperature controlled also?
Correct.
All right, so. Just any detail in terms of like the entire facility is going to be, are there certain areas that are, earmarked? So say I've got a grand piano that I need to have stored there and it needs to be at a certain temperature. Are there certain areas that are going to be designated for things of that nature?
I don't think so,
No?
but the
Okay.
entire facility,
What about the art? I mean,
I think they have like a temperature range
okay,
that they will guarantee at.
okay.
And, when you,
All right, so if you could let us know kind of what that range is, we're just trying to get a real understanding of what's going or being proposed to go here.
so we could also submit the mechanical plans from the engineer that shows, the actual dock and the machinery, the sizes.
Anything additional you'd like to add before I go over to council who has a couple things? Nothing, okay, all right. Nope, good. Council? I would like to add also in terms of the size of the trucks, I want to make sure that you have that also. And, kind of with the, vehicular, you know, how that's gonna work in terms of backing up and going into the designated bay areas, I guess. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that it would be our intent to, be the lead agency in regards to this particular application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So if you could please, okay.
The 30 days will last before the next meeting, so especially the,
Perfect. Okay, great. You have all the notes. In the event that you don't, just reach out to staff to make sure, and please make sure again that, you know, the rendering, we can also see everything,
No problem.
okay? All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Oh, my apologies. My apologies. I'm sorry. Come back. I'm sorry. My apologies. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to speak in regard to this application, thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kevin Bunch. I'm the president of the Kingsbridge Garden Association. I'm here because, well, first of all, excuse me, I don't know the protocol. This is my first time ever coming to one of these events, but 2 weeks ago, one of the seniors on our block showed us that she got a letter for a hearing, public hearing, notice of hearing. She lives 500 feet from where I guess this facility is. Right, so
Right.
no one else on the block received the hearing notice except her, right?
I'm just gonna stop just for one quick second.
Mhm.
In terms of the mailing, do we have receipts in terms of where the mailing? had been
Yes,
sent?
if they get a letter, it should be assessed.
Okay. Can we double check and find out, because obviously that's concerning that, you're saying that only one person. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And number two, this gentleman, I didn't catch his name, but he said he has multiple letters from residents in the area that gave you the okay. I'm the Kingsbridge Garden president. I know everybody from 71 St. Paul down to 9 St. Paul. That's all the houses adjacent to the Salvation Army. None of them have said they've given any letter of content or okay for this, you know, so I
Well,
don't know.
I'm not sure if you heard, but I asked to see whether or not, if he has them, to
And-
present them. So
and-
right at the moment, he doesn't have them.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure
Right, no,
that.
thank you.
All right, and you know, we have concerns, right? We live in the area, we want to know just, you know, everything that you asked, like how is it gonna, you know, compromise the area, the neighborhood? You know, we've heard rumors of asbestos at the Salvation Army. We don't know if it's true, it's just rumors that we've heard. So we just have concerns, but we just wanted to make our point known that no one received the fair hearing letter except that one resident. And I would like to see the letters of these multiple people that he says in the area that has given consent, because I know of any, and I'm the president of the Block Association. All right,
Well, I just want to let you know that there is no decisions being made on this. They have to come back, and there will
Okay.
be another meeting, which is going to be in May, and the date for the, excuse me, Maria, the date for the May meeting,
May 7th?
May 7th.
May 7th.
May 7th.
Okay, at that time, he will have to
At-
present.
At 6:30 we start, and it
Okay.
will be on the city's website, also what the agenda is. So
Okay,
this item will be on the agenda, so if there are residents there that would like to come that weren't able to make it today, please let them know,
thank you so much.
Well.
Appreciate it.
okay?
Mhm.
No, yes, absolutely. Please come on.
Good evening. My name is Sonia McKinley, and I live at 33 St. Paul's Place, which is actually directly across from the Salvation Army. I have a few questions here. One, I didn't hear who the new owner of the property was. I did not hear that, so I don't know who who's gonna be owning the business? Number two, I did not understand properly about the use. It said storage. Is it a storage like the one down by Kingsbridge Road and Columbus? Or is it, which there's a similar one up the road from the gas station? So is it for storage for people coming in, store their stuff?
No, no. So what happened? That was, we weren't sure either at first.
Okay.
And so I guess, I don't know if you were here or heard, we were asking that. It's not a public storage facility. It's a moving company that has a storage facility. So when they're doing moves, they're bringing furniture from people's homes that have sold, and they're being stored in this facility before it's moved, to its final destination. Or if it's coming from someplace else, being stored here before it's going to its final destination. So there are going to be probably approximately 2 to 3 employees from what we're told right now. We're going to ensure that the applicant is actually here at the next meeting so he can answer all of these questions.
Okay.
But what we have right now is that it's not going to be, so if you had something and you wanted to bring it to a storage facility, this would not be that type of a facility.
So it's in effect a moving company that's moving there.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Correct.
We did not see a public notice post outside to say that the public meeting was being held. So, because as you go around Mount Vernon, I can see the public notices for people doing work
Mhm.
on properties. I did not see one here.
Okay. Do we have pictures of the? Please, thank you. Okay,
Didn't see one.
okay.
All
No,
right.
thank you for bringing that to our attention because that is
Okay.
part of the process.
Yes,
And a picture is supposed to be taken.
yes.
Sent to us so that we know that it was noticed
Right.
properly.
Plus, as I said, we did not get a notice to this effect.
Okay.
The other thing, again, that I want to find out is that this building is a pre-1970 building,
Mhm.
and there could possibly be asbestos problem there.
Mhm.
And I live in the neighborhood, and there's been a lot of cancer in the area.
Mhm.
So I want to know if they're going to make sure if there's asbestos there and do the abatement.
Right.
Because for our safety, for the community's safety, I want to know that also.
Mhm.
And, if it's done already, if they're going to be doing it, I would like to see the documentation, one, if it's done already, or two, when it's going to be done, we would like to know in the community. All right.
Just so you know that in the event that this application does move forward, all of that information in terms of any demolition, any concerns regarding lead, asbestos, or any other potential environmental issue will be addressed also. Okay, so that is part of the process in the building department. So we make a recommendation and they make sure that anything that needs to be done is done properly. Okay, so.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
but thank you for
Okay. And,
mentioning that.
all right, I'll just have one more observation I want to make here. Is the owner having other properties in the neighborhood?
That's what I'm looking for, right. So from our understanding, the owner of the property's name is Christopher Rooney.
Rooney?
Rooney, Rooney. I don't know if we know. And we don't know whether or not he has additional properties, but from our understanding, he has other facilities because I guess it's his moving company.
Okay, because there is actually another moving company at the back of the storage that's at the corner of Kingsbridge
Mhm.
and Columbus
Mhm.
in the back. There's another moving company there. And, sometimes things start in the neighborhood and it just gets worse and worse because we're not paying attention. So I just wanted to make sure that we're informed and we're aware what's going on because we are residential, that little neighborhood there.
Mhm.
And we've had a lot of pollution around there. And now if you're gonna have the
I
trucks.
see your hand, sir. Okay.
You see the trucks that come in and a lot of them have diesel because they're big trucks and, we are concerned about the health of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, sir.
I'm Celine McKinley. I'm her husband. We have been in the neighborhood and there's that another company down there, the building company. And my concern is the movement of traffics. Right now, there I come down from St. Paul's Place into Third, and the moving company, not the moving company, the construction company trucks are at times block the way. We can't come out. And from what I'm listening, from what I'm hearing, there's going to be another traffic problem there. Even today, when I was going out onto Columbus, from Third to Columbus, I saw there was the construction truck and traffic has to be stopped because I am concerned about the traffic on Third and on Columbus. These big, mighty trucks coming in with building materials and so on. So I'm very much concerned. And as my wife spoke about the asbestos, I've said to her and to a few neighbors, if I can at least, I wouldn't tell anybody to come and live in that neighborhood because it is so polluted from, I don't know about if there's asbestos and how they're dealing with it. Also, the auto body shops, I don't know if some of them have licenses because when they are spraying their cars, it's right over on the other on St. Paul's Place. The area, the lawns that we have there, the trees, it's bad. The smell. And I'm sorry, I said to one person yesterday, I'm sorry for your children. He has little children growing up there. And also they say that there are Alzheimer's coming up. We don't know if it's from all the pollution, the trucks, parking, the gasoline, and all of this. So I am very much concerned about what is happening and what is going to happen in that neighborhood. I said to two people yesterday, if I see anybody buying houses there coming, I would say, no, go somewhere else because the place is polluted, it's congested. I don't know we're going to deal with it. Thank you.
So I would make a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
And it's twofold. One, to reach out to the building department and let them know, about some of the concerns that you have, okay, environmentally, and ask them to, come and check things out. And also, at the next city council meeting, ask to be a speaker and let them know that you have some concerns in your area about air quality and things of that nature and trucks idling, because they can limit the time and the duration for idling and things of that nature also.
Yeah, that
Okay.
idling,
Right.
very important.
Right.
Idling, yes.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that's
we'll
pretty, I wish there was something more that we could do on that. In
Yes,
terms of conditioning, if this were to move forward, there would be a condition in terms of idling and things of that nature for this particular, building.
still, yes.
But the others, we don't have control over. That would be
Yes,
be
one,
building.
one question, will the building be torn down?
No.
Just refurbished?
Correct. Right.
Okay, thank
Right,
you.
that's our understanding. And also, just for your wife to see, they did show, and I don't know whether the sign was there, but we do have.
Never
pictures
saw
of
one,
The signs, if you could show your wife, please. Thank you.
never saw one.
Certified map.
Certified, but they can go to the store.
I didn't get one.
But there's a-
Okay. Okay, so I guess at some point it was there, but
Actual property.
but it's not in front of it.
And there is now.
It's not.
No.
All right, so. That's the
You don't know where this is?
I guess there's a little confusion in
Yes,
terms of they're saying that, I guess, this is the site.
Where was it posted? Can I ask?
That building, that there. That's the site. Right, okay, just make, okay.
That's the one.
So that, you're familiar with that building?
No, it's not the
It's not the
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army.
It's not the Salvation Army. It's a property across from the Salvation Army.
Right. It's. Right,
Yeah, it's across from the Salvation Army. It's not Salvation.
right.
No.
So this is that a better picture of it?
Yeah, that's the property.
That's across the,
Correct.
across the street down the block.
Yes,
Right.
yes. That's the
Right.
property.
Right.
You know, it's kind of misleading, but,
Yeah.
all right, but it's not the property. So if someone sees something across the street down the block, no, who's gonna,
Right, now,
you know, that's kind of,
No, that is the property.
right, but this, I mean, this is in fact the property.
okay.
That's the property.
And these were, and this, if you could take a quick look. These were the certified letters that went out in April of the year, so. You can take a quick look at those and see whether or not you recognize names there.
So what's your address?
That's certified, they have to pick it up and sign for it.
She said, right, well, if you're not home, you have to go to the mailbox.
They have.
You gotta go to the mail office.
Yeah.
It fall into the deficit, like one household thing fall.
Is,
You know what, we don't want to hold the meeting up, so you say May 7th,
Yes.
is the next,
Right,
and nothing's in stone yet,
No,
so
not at all.
may
be
I,
respectful of everybody's time,
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
but none of these addresses are like, oh, this is Pelham,
question. Pelham?
we're around the corner, it's something, all right, wait,
Um,
all right.
I have one question.
I'm just-
oh,
May I
I'm
ask,
just
if
gonna take that picture.
you
off.
want it back?
Yeah, please.
May I ask one question? Is the sign still there?
The
yes,
sign is still there.
should be. Yeah.
Sign is there.
I'll drive by tonight.
Okay.
That's within the yard of this this property. It should be outside, so you could.
Well, I mean, it's, from what I can see, it's as close as that they can do it to put the sign. This is the dirt, otherwise that's concrete. That's the only place where they actually could put the sign.
Okay.
Because if they put it on the building itself, then it would be further away. So that's why it was
So
there.
we
we're
will
about
check.
different buildings now,
Right.
Oh,
two different buildings, because we're under the impression that it's the Salvation Army.
no.
So, see,
896 South
Right.
Columbus.
Yeah.
that's
Right.
even nearer.
Right, okay.
Well, I don't know.
But yeah, if you have an opportunity when you go home. just drive by.
1296. Is it 1296?
896.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
South
South
Columbus,
So,
896. Okay, is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak in regards to this particular application? Okay, do we have anybody via Facebook Live? He's on, okay, he's on. Would he like to say something? No, okay, all right, great. So, everybody knows next month, the date, May 7th, right, okay. Yep, 6:30. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we adjourn till, the May meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Yep, okay. This is a new public hearing. This is 4.3. Case number PB 25 140 East Prospect Avenue. Section 165.63, block 1141, lots 9, 10, and 11 in the RMF 15 multifamily residence district. Proposed Mount Vernon East TOD 1 zoning district. Regarding public notice, the board has received an affidavit of mailing stating on March 19th, 2025, notice was mailed to property owners within a 500-foot radius of the site. Okay, the owner is the Alexander Development Group, represented by their representatives, Stephen Rabel and Stuart Lax, their lead design professional. The applicant is requesting a site plan approval to construct a 21-story, 350-unit complex with approximately 6,380 square feet of commercial retail space on the ground floor on the existing combined 3 lots. Okay. And we have, what do we have here? Okay, I see one of the Alexanders, okay. All right. Good evening. Good evening. All right, you guys are up. However you want to start with your presentation. Right there. Good evening.
Hey, Darrell.
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
So, Mr. Alexander, we are ready for you to start your presentation. All right.
If you don't, in the interest of time, I can get started with an introduction while we're setting up and getting our presentation and USB file ready.
That would be
I
great. You
think.
could give that to right there. Thank you.
And so I'm Nicholas Alexander from Alexander Development Group. I'm joined by Mark Alexander from Alexander Development Group. We have Mike Tucker from Langan, who's presenting. They are our one of our engineers, civil engineer. We have Sarah Yakel is on the Zoom. She's from BFJ. I'm not sure if you guys can let her in, but if you could, that would be great. Just in case you have any questions for our planner. And from Perkins Eastman presenting, we have Stuart Lax, Meredith Taubin, and Matt Hoffman. I just want to give a quick look back at history and how we've gotten here and why we're here, and why we're excited to be here. As some of you may know, we presented to the planning board back in 2021 on this project, and we were thrilled to be here. We presented a 26-story building, and the planning board at that time had given us a letter of support to proceed. The city also around that time decided to embark on a comprehensive plan. And so with that in mind, we collaborated with the city, and when the city council adopted the first part of that comprehensive plan, which was the downtown vision plan, last January in 2024, that's when we revised our application in collaboration with the city staff, in collaboration with the city consultants, and we made sure that we were in conformance with that downtown vision plan, which was formulated from the comprehensive plan and the various studies and community meetings and outreach that we all did and participated in. And so we sent that revised plan and application out to the city council last fall, and we had also sent it out to the county and to the planning board. And we did meet with the planning board last fall to review the zoning language and the seeker portion of our application, the environmental. And I'm happy to say that this February, the city council voted unanimously in favor of our application for our zoning text amendment and a negative declaration on our seeker. And so now we are here before you today with our site plan application. And we're presenting 140 East Prospect. This is a 100% market rate transit-oriented development located 1/2 block north of the Mount Vernon East train station. And we want it to be a beacon for this city. This is a transit-rich node, and we want people every day that are coming in and out of this city to see the growth of Mount Vernon and potential future investment here. And with that, I'd like to hand this over to Meredith from our architect Perkins Eastman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So our site at 140 East Prospect falls within the area designated for high density in the downtown vision plan. And as you can see, the site is within a block from the train station. Currently, there are 3 existing structures. All 3 are originally built as single-family homes that were later converted to multifamily. The proposed design extends the higher density as envisioned in the downtown vision plan and will widen the sidewalks to make a more pedestrian-focused experience along both street fronts. The building steps back along Portugal Place to improve the streetscape and create relief on the way to the train station. The parking garage entrance is to the far east of the site along East Prospect Avenue and is located next to the residential building lobby, which allows for a continuous retail street wall to wrap the corner of East Prospect around a public plaza with commissioned public art to the garage and exit along Portugal Place.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
Just really quickly, I wanted to show you where we're connecting to the existing utilities. So there's an existing 8-inch and 12-inch sewer in East Prospect Street that we're connecting to provide the sewer lateral to the building and connect through like the mechanical room in the basement. There's an existing water line in East Prospect as well, and we will be connecting 2 connections there, one for fire protection and one for the domestic feed. Stormwater will run in the left corner of that plan. You can see a line going out. We're tying into the existing 72-inch drain line that runs down Portugal Place. And then we also have telecommunications, electric and gas connecting on the East Prospect side as well. Like I said, we're tying into a section of the sewer that's an 8-inch. As it goes downstream, almost directly across the building, across the street from the building, at the intersection with Archer, that sewer increases to a 12-inch. So that the capacity is there for our anticipated flows, both in the 8 and the 12. And in both instances, we're contributing less than 5% of the capacity of those lines from our building. So, sure.
We're an aging city.
Yes.
You know, we have challenges. Are there any challenges that you may foresee that, you know, may impede at any time, or this is something that will be smooth sailing?
Nothing's jumping out at us as being a potential issue. I believe a section of the sewer on East Prospect has recently been upgraded based on some records that I saw. So I don't anticipate there being any issues with utilities. So sure. This is the location midway through the building, in front of the building, where it converts to a 12-inch. Correct. Yep. For draining. Yep. Yep. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm Matt Hoffman with Perkins Eastman Architects. So I'm going to be doing some reading tonight. So get a little nervous public speaking. So this diagram here is kind of meant to show you the overall massing of the proposed project and also kind of the overall metrics of the building. So we have a residential proposed unit count of 350 apartment units. The permitted total building height is 250 feet and 21 stories with the bonus, which we will speak to in later slides. Based on the ratio of required parking, we're providing 226 parking spaces, which is exceeding the 204 based on the calculated ratio required. The retail component, which you'll see in the next floor plan slide, is at that lower corner where you can kind of see the yellow shading. The retail component wraps that corner. It's about 6,300 square feet on the ground floor, and it engages both Portugal and East Prospect Street. The floor area ratio comes in at 8.0, which is the permitted based on the zoning regulations. And so this diagram kind of shows the overall step backs highlighted in yellow of as you go up the building. We have a step back at the 4th floor podium. We have another step back at the 12th floor. And then we have a step back at the 21st floor as well.
Questions?
Sure.
Step back means, can you tell me what step back means?
Sure. So
And be a part of the step back, please.
So highlighted in yellow is it's a step back, an average step back around the perimeter of that wall at that level.
There's
From
nothing on there.
what's
There's
that?
No landing or no.
So actually, we're using those step backs as which is written into that zoning as an opportunity for usable open space. So they will be balconies and terraces as much as.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's my layman's term.
Took me a while to get there, sorry.
And then the second question I have is in parking spaces, how many are ADA compliance? I mean, what do you have percentage wise? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 1?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Sure.
We have it in our,
That'll segue into my question in
Sure.
regards, is there going to be a valet parking scenario set there?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna turn it over, but yes,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Can you answer my question
Well,
first for
I-
ADA?
Well, that's kind of getting into it because if they're gonna have the valet also.
I'm gonna get into that, yeah.
They're gonna get into that.
Thank
I
you.
will.
Thank you very much.
Stuart Lax with Perkins Eastman Architects for the project. Pleasure again to be back before the Planning Board of City of Mount Vernon. If we can go to the next slide, please. So there it is. So this is the ground floor plan. And you can see in sort of salmon colors, the 6,300 square feet of retail that Meredith talked about. And just to the right of that in yellow, sort of a mustard yellow, that's the main building lobby. And again, just to the right of that would be where the garage entrance is. And we have a mixture of valet and self-park spaces. There's and I should start off by saying, under the zoning ordinance, there's 204 parking spaces required. We're providing 226. Of those 226, 144 are self-park and 62 are valet. I do not know the exact number of ADA accessibility spaces. It's approximately 2%. It's what is required under New York State code, and we would by all means provide that. And again, by code, because of the ADA and the accessibility laws, we have to provide both self-park ADA spaces and valet. So the valet has to be configured to allow someone needing that to be able to valet as well.
So I'm sorry, just to.
Yeah, sure.
Interrupt for 1 second. And in terms of charging stations, EV, things of that nature, is that something that you?
Something that we are contemplating, but not developed into the design enough to know how many we're going to provide.
All right, I figure that some of the cars.
Yeah.
Will.
I am sure that there are going to be some. I think it's just a question of quantity. There is talk that the impending New York State code may obligate us to provide a certain minimum number. What we've worked before is that we may also choose to put in infrastructure and add depending on how the demand is. So may not be all of them at day one, but.
Just so looking
Yeah.
looking at the retail space, you're only anticipating 2 retail locations, or you plan on cutting those?
Those could be as, the dividing wall where we've shown it is approximately, because there's some slope along East Prospect. We would want to level the doors, but we will design it to allow for maximum flexibility. So it could be 4, could be 6, depending on what the market bears. Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, there could be a way around the corner on, yes.
In theory, if there was one tenant who wanted to take the entire 6,300 square feet, in theory, that's almost certainly.
Right, but we've tried to design the space to give maximum flexibility depending on what, what the market bears and as such. So that they're not locked into only finding someone that say wants 3,100 square feet.
Right, okay.
So I read in your plan that you have some level of thoughts around bike, storage or?
Yeah, we've got a designated space for bike storage. Yeah, and that would be, we haven't talked about it, but that would probably be within the garage space, so it's going to be enclosed in fire rated construction. Yeah, that have that.
And
Motorcycle,
motorbikes as
yeah.
well, that's the big.
I guess sticking with the parking theme, the idea is that the traffic flow is clockwise, so people would come in off of East Prospect, pull up. If they're self-parking, they can continue. There's a drop-off spot where they could meet with the valet. And then the parking would exit onto Portugal and be able to go left or right from Portugal. Trash collection move-ins would actually come in, would back in off of Portugal Place. Just because we're not confident that the turn could be made by a truck within. Next slide, please.
Just real
Yeah,
quick.
sure.
Well, I mean, this is site plan, but just thinking about the traffic flow coming off of Portugal. I would definitely have a study because that can get a little busy depending on train schedules and people.
Yeah, I believe there was some study done as part of the environmental associated with the zone change, but we can look into that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. There are 3 levels. I only have the plan of the ground floor, but there are 2, the second and third. Oh, yeah. The second and third floors are full parking levels. This is the 4th floor, so this is stacks above, and you can see the setbacks or step backs that Matt referred to earlier. And we've used the right side we're using as an amenity deck, so that pink area would be building amenities. We haven't programmed them all yet, but typically that would be fitness and meeting rooms and workspaces and things like that, yoga rooms available to the residents, and then outdoor space. Obviously, it'll be nice views afforded from this. We've planned for a very small swimming pool. Is landscape. That's green roof. Yeah, we don't have it fully designed. Similar. And this outdoor space contributes towards the required open space that we have to provide.
So you don't have the traffic study with you now?
I don't have it. I believe
Do we have it?
Barry Yankel, who's our planning consultant, is on the Zoom, may be able to.
Yep. Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Yako, planner with BFJ Planning. There was a full traffic study done as part of the environmental review that was done for the zone change with the council. And it did look at we did traffic counts at 4 different locations along Portugal Place, East Prospect, Elm, and also there were intersection analyses done at 6 different locations, including both of the ingress and egress driveways. And all of that analysis, as confirmed by the city's technical consultants, confirmed that there were no significant impacts at any of those studied intersections. And we're happy to provide you with that traffic analysis if you need it.
All right, so you don't have anything that you could share on a screen for us to take a look at?
I mean, we can pull up the traffic study itself. Hang on, but it's all tables. It's not much. It's tables and text. There aren't really any diagrams to look at.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one of our land use councils, and thankfully, and Brad Schwartz, worked on with the city council in regards to this. Can you kind of let us know in regards to parking and the vehicular traffic right there? Because that is somewhat of a concern. in that area, because it is somewhat congested there,
Very
so.
congested.
What was your recall in terms of, what came up during the city council, they were presenting to the city council?
Good evening, everyone. Brad Schwartz, the planning board special outside counsel. So the applicant did submit a full parking and traffic report to the city council during the review of the rezoning and as part of the council's secret process. So the parking was studied. There was a ratio that was established given the transit-oriented nature of the project. I believe that was 0.57. So the parking spaces that are provided meets the standard that the city council came up with in consultation with the city's consultants. With respect to the traffic report, Mr. Chairman, there was a full report submitted that was reviewed and vetted by the city's consultants. I don't recall it specifically to address this particular question, but I think when the applicant comes back at the next meeting, they should certainly be prepared to address that.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, that's just a concern, and maybe, Mr. Alexander, maybe you could help us with, the type of traffic patterns that you have found with 42 Broad in terms of the times of days when you're seeing, most of the cars coming, going in the facility there, just to have an idea. Okay, thank you.
We haven't done any formal study, post-construction. I can tell you this, that, I've driven at many different times on and off that site. We talk about it all the time with Pro Park Management. We talk about it. We have a monthly meeting with them. Our management company is very attuned to customer service. We've never observed or been told of any kind of pileup either in or out of the garage at 42 Broad. So it's a non-issue at 42 Broad. The big traffic problem at 42 Broad is the same one that this panel knows about. And we've spent 7 years trying to get the city to do something about it, and the city just will not do anything about it. And that's the traffic flow off of the Cross County Parkway. We set aside money. Langen Engineering spent a good part of a good chunk of money that we paid them to come up with a plan to change the traffic flow at several intersections at 42 Broad. I know this isn't directly relevant to this location, but the point is that's where the problem is at 42 Broad. The city has done some repaving, but there's no new signal improvements in that area. In spite of years of effort and tens of thousands of dollars on design work, it's the same problem. It's worse. I mean, just tonight, the traffic was backed up to the entrance ramp of the southbound Cross Bronx Parkway. So it was horrible tonight. And I had to, wind my way through it. Usually it's a 15 to 20 minute drive for me to get here. And today it was more like 30 minutes. So it wasn't quite that bad, but it was a backup and it was not nice. So I don't think you're going to have the same kind of problem over here. We don't have that sort of a problem in this particular area. There are times, and I am not as familiar with this area as I am with 42 Broad, where you're having trains come off and there's cars queued up to pick up. I just picked up Nicholas today at the Fleetwood train station, and there were probably 20 cars waiting for the 6:16 train to arrive, pick people up and take them off. So we are sensitive to those sorts of things. But as I said, as Sarah mentioned, the studies were performed and didn't show any significant impact directly from our project.
Mr. Chair, because I think you mentioned, expressed a concern about pedestrians heading to, and I want to point out we have pulled the building back in from the property line on Portugal Place to allow for a much wider sidewalk to make it.
I could see from the writing.
Yeah,
I think that helps tremendously.
Yeah, that was sort of a conscious decision to understand. Right now, it's I think a less than 5 feet.
Right.
Which I think will the intent is certainly to help alleviate that and not have people push out onto the street.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And then my next question is going to be in terms of moving deliveries, things of that nature. How will that work? Where will that work? How is that going to be?
So yeah, if you could go.
Right.
Right, so if you could go back a slide, please. So the expectation is that garbage trucks, moving trucks would come in, back in off of Portugal Place, along the, sort of in the east-west direction. And, you know, sort of trash and loading is sort of in that center section of the building. I think what Mr. Alexander is referring to is probably for the retail loading, what will most likely happen is that there will be, you know, that'll be serviced from the street, not really permitted by zone. Yeah.
This is the trash location, so the city trucks back and this location.
And get the truck off.
Trucks back. The real problem with 42 Broad, and we spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of time on this, is Amazon, UPS, FedEx, all those guys. We're getting dozens and dozens of packages a day, which is great for the city because that's sales tax revenue. Huge sales tax revenue is being generated by. We started out with a package room that was maybe 12 by 15 or 12 by 20. Then we were told, no, that's not big enough, to 12 by 30. I guess we're like 12 or 15 feet by 60 or 65 now, and it's a huge package, over 700 square feet. And we have one of these fancy one-store systems that has lockers for package companies to put in. We have over 100 lockers, and it's heavily used all the time, and it's always over. That's where there's a little bit of mayhem. It's going to be the same in this building. No matter what we do, trying to direct. Because a lot of delivery guys aren't competitors, right? There's a lot of these, you know, persons that are hard to deliver packages now. So you have a UPS truck will come in where they're supposed to, and you have a FedEx truck will come in where they're supposed to. And you've got all these independents. And they're going to park in front of the building.
Right. So are you going to start off with a larger room with this?
Yeah, we're. Yeah, we're definitely applying the lessons learned from the packages, from lessons learned from 42 to here, which is something we're seeing. It's a trend we're seeing not just at 42, but our other apartment building projects. Yeah, people love the packages.
That filled up or?
So it's 90% rented, it's 100% market rate. The 3-bedroom apartments start at $5,700 and go up to $6,300. Eight at the top of the building, they're all 8 3-bedroom apartments. So we would have thought 6, 7, 8 years ago, we would have thought that anybody would rent a 3-bedroom apartment in Mount Vernon for over $6,000. Anybody in this room? Yeah. You would, okay, you are alone, because everybody else, the biggest shitstorm, excuse my language, that I got when I presented that project was that it was a Trojan horse for Section 8. That's what everybody said. A whole bunch of people said, there's no way people with that kind of money are going to live in Mount Vernon. And we took off a bunch of critique. And there was only a few people like you, Daryl, that believed in us. And thank goodness you did. We thank you that you did that. But those folks are now living, and they're not all white. They're going through 42 Broad, it looks just like the rest of Mount Vernon. It's a whole panoply of different races and creeds and colors. And it's a wonderful thing. They all have the communists, they all have greed.
I had the opportunity to peruse through 42 Broad on a tour, and I want you to know it's absolutely fabulous. So but I can't spend $6,000. Anyway, But what was the percentage you said that it's already, it's 90% rented? Okay.
People shop for apartments 2-4 weeks before they want to move.
Mhm.
Now people shop in 2 months for a home. So we have leases lined up from May into June.
Okay.
Something like this. So I can see this part.
That, because you're on one side of town, the other side of town.
Same side of town, same side of town, it's the north side, Mount Vernon.
North side, Mizzou.
It's the west side of Mount Vernon, baby. Yeah, so look, it's the south end of the north side of the town, but it is the north side of the town. And you know which one, you go 7 or 8 blocks to the east of this, you're in Esplanade. One of the most beautiful thoroughfares, residential thoroughfares in all of Mount Vernon, right? You go a block or so north, and it's a solid middle class homeowner community. So you go over to Sydney, and it's beautiful houses on Sydney, right? So this neighborhood is not as overall as attractive as Fleetwood, which is this downtown area, especially going west to Portugal Place. That's a tough block. We're gonna need your help. You know, okay, I'm telling it's okay because it's industrial, it's you know, commercial, and it's warehouse, no problem. But there's a bit of riffraff on Prospect. Park in Portugal, for sure. But we think this project is going to rent to essentially very similar demographic. A lot of medical workers, a lot of tech workers, social influencers. We've got it all. And I think especially the younger part of that demographic is going to see this as a very attractive location. We're also getting quite a few empty nesters, maybe older folk who sold a home and moved in. Some of those are folks from Mount Vernon, others are from North Yonkers, Eastchester, New Rochelle. I expect we'll get more of that, we'll get some of that here, but it'll probably be more of the Mount Vernon crowd. Selling our $700,000 house and moving to this location. Because people that are familiar with Mount Vernon are going to be more comfortable in this location than in the Fleetwood.
Can we talk about construction and timing and staging?
Mr. Chairman, before we move on to construction, can I just jump back in on traffic?
Please.
So I didn't know I was going to be asked to play traffic consultant tonight, so I'm glad that I had a minute or two to go pull up the traffic study that was submitted to the city council. So it is on the city's website. And so the full traffic study was part of the applicant submission back in September of 2024. It looks like it's about an 80-page or so traffic study. And Sarah, if you could hear me, and if you want to pull it up, page 14 of the traffic study addresses what's called trip assignment. The applicant, and there's diagrams showing during the AM and PM peak hours, which way the traffic will be distributed coming out of the building. And so it does assume, the traffic report does, that the vehicle trips, I'm quoting now, will be evenly distributed between the east and west as both directions lead towards major arterial roadways and highways. And the next page, page 15 and 16, literally shows the distribution. And in fact, it's up on the screen now. So if I could cede to Sarah to explain it with a little bit more clarity, but the information, Mr. Chairman, that you asked for is contained in the traffic study that's up on the screen now.
Yeah, so the traffic study, it starts with, let me just go up a little bit. It looked at, so traffic counts were collected along.
Speaking up a little bit because
Sorry.
we have a little ventilation air thing going on here, so we can't hear very well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Close to my microphone. So there were traffic counts conducted along East Prospect. And then we did look at 7 different locations. So East Prospect and Park, East Prospect between Cottage and Archer, East Prospect and Rich, and then the 2 entrance drives. So this is points 5 and 6, as well as North Fulton and East Prospect. And so these diagrams, there's a lot of technical data in here, and this was all vetted by the city's consultants, but just to sort of describe what you're looking at here, these are all of the various turning movements that can happen at each of the studied locations. And so for the entrance drive, the egress drive here, this is looking at the AM peak hour. So this is projected traffic generated by the project at the AM peak hour, which is the hour that has the most trips in the morning. And you've got 43 trips traveling north on Portugal Place, and then 11 turning into the driveway at that same time. And then there are through trips as well. At the entrance drive, you kind of split the trips traveling east and west. And again, then the through traffic coming on East Prospect in front of that driveway. And you'll see that these are fairly low numbers in terms of the peak hour. And I think that accounts for largely for the TOD location. This is one block from the train station. So, you know, the trip generation rates that were used and agreed upon really account for that most people are commuting by train or either walking into jobs locally or commuting into the city or other locations on the train, which is one of the major benefits of this location. And so it does walk you through. The next sheet is the PM peak hour. So you can see similar again. It makes sense. You've got in the PM peak hour, you have more trips entering the garage than you have leaving. And so it just sort of walks you through all of those various impacts. And then there is a table that looks at the 7 locations that were studied and walks you through the AM and PM peak hour and compares the future, what we call the future no action. So the build year of the project, if the project didn't happen, and then the build year with the project, if it did happen, and looks at the change in delay. So obviously for the 2 new driveways, or the 3 locations that were studied here, there's no traffic there currently. Because there are no driveways there. And so that is showing those additional delays. But you can see that everything is operating at either a level of service, which for the layperson, a level of service is based on the amount of wait time to make that turn or to enter, travel through an intersection. And you can see that it is all level of A and B. And I believe there's only one location, which is this is the northbound movement through the East Prospect Avenue and Rich Avenue unsignalized intersection that does decline from a level of service B to a level of service C, but it really is just a change of about 1 second in delay, additional delay. It just happens that it's right on the cusp of that B to C. And so that is the only location that really has a shift in the overall sort of level of service category, and those are defined terms. And so, you know, it walks you through all of the various times. Again, this is future with action, peak hour, AM and PM. And then there is a lot of data that if you are so interested, you can spend a little time with, but there's just table upon table of all of the various traffic counts. And then this is all run through, you know, detailed modeling to determine the intersection movements. So hopefully that helps.
And Sarah, please go to page 17. I just want to point out for the board that the conclusions that you just summarized are set forth in narrative on page 17. The board can certainly look at the diagrams you pointed out, but the board, if so inclined, could turn to page 17 and the conclusions are right there in text.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is that one delay here, the Rich Avenue, where it's going from a 14.5 second wait to a 15.4 second. So that's not even a full second of increase in delay. It just happens that it's right on the cusp of the crossover between level of service B and C.
I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I know you mentioned there's a entrance on Prospect. There's an exit.
Entrance on Prospect, exit on Portugal.
Portugal.
Yeah. Only. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Thank you, Council. Appreciate you sharing your information. So this property is where the La Pasita is at. Am I correct?
No.
Focus me in.
There's 3 single family homes.
Wait 1 minute.
Yep.
Talk to me.
And on your left, you're gonna have the Portugal.
Portugal's building.
And then on your right, it's our side.
It's your side. Okay, just wanted to make sure I have. There's some homes over there.
Go
Go
back two more.
So 2 homes that are over there are very bad and disrepair. So you have
Tearing those down.
tearing those
One
down.
more.
Okay. Then the third one is down, then tear it down.
That's it, yeah. You can see what's,
So
So you get a sense.
This piece right here.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the one that we're talking about right here. Okay, just want to make sure. Yes.
Yep.
Got it.
No, I was just, yeah,
No,
I,
keep showing me there, but I
So
need to
I just
see
wanted to
it.
just jump back to the traffic studies for 1 second. So in essence, the study indicates that a timing change is not warranted. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess if you could advance back a few slides. I'm really gonna, 9, okay. Yeah, so, next slide, really, and I'll hand it back to Mr. Alexander, who's gonna talk about, in line with the zoning ordinance, in order to, take advantage of the height bonus, there's some requirements that, community benefits that need to be provided, and, Mark, you wanna cover that, or?
So, as Nicholas pointed out in his introduction, we've tried to come up with a design that's inspirational. It's very important to us. Whether you thought we should have put a Victorian style or Tudor style building at 42 Broad or not, I've heard from almost nobody, except for maybe 1 or 2 haters, that don't think that 42 Broad is a really attractive building and adds a lot to the community that it's in. And that is our intention here as well. We're trying to help transform the downtown of Mount Vernon back to a day of glory. And there's lots of folks that might remember days, older folks in this room that might remember days in downtown Mount Vernon that were better than today. But downtown Mount Vernon's really hit a hard time over the last 30 years. And it's market rate, we believe, market rate projects like this that'll help bring vitality to the downtown area, improve the lives of the folks that already live there, and improve the prospects of the retail establishments that are there, that would hopefully move there as the community turns around. A part of the scheme, again, back to 42 Broad, a part of the scheme there was we set aside $400,000 for community betterments. And we worked on that with the city council and with this body, with the planning board. And we came up with a checklist of, 12 or 15 items that we were going to do. I would encourage the planning board this time around, keep the list smaller. It's really, really hard for the building department when it comes time to getting a C of O to go through that long checklist. So that it delays things terribly. So a more focused list would be appreciated in this project. But the intention on our part is to make improvements to the neighborhood that help us introduce the building to the neighborhood and help the neighborhood and the city make it a better neighborhood. So we hardened the Con Ed wiring in the perimeter of 42 Broad, and we're committed to doing that here. As Stuart already mentioned, we're widening the sidewalk considerably. We did that at 42 Broad as well. The sidewalk, the north-south sidewalk on Fleetwood Avenue was terribly narrow, and we've expanded it to, I think, 15 feet. We're doing something similar here. I don't know what the expansion here is, to 12 or to 15 Prospect and 15 on Portugal. I mean, Portugal, as you all know better than I do, Portugal Place is the primary pedestrian pathway, north-south pathway to the train station, and it's a joke. There's no sidewalk on the west side and a 4-foot sidewalk on the east side. It's crazy. How could that be your introduction to the city of Mount Vernon, to downtown Mount Vernon? It's atrocious. So we want to widen it, create more attractive streetscape, with plantings, and at the corner at the intersection of Portugal and Prospect, put a monumental sculpture, as we did at 42 Broad. Again, we think that those kinds of things speak to who this city is, and in terms of its history, and in terms of its sense of culture and sense of being. And so, between hardening the utilities, putting in public art, improving the streetscapes, expanding the sidewalks. We're trying not just to make our building look good, but to make sure that the place looks good and the place works better. And that making a place work better isn't just about us anymore. It's about everybody that interacts with that place.
I have a question, Mr.
Sure.
Alexander. So with that said, you just spoke about that one block. That's a challenge.
Mhm.
You're putting up this beautiful thing, you're putting up sculptures, whatever you want.
Mhm, mhm.
But if I don't feel safe,
100%.
that's a problem. So have you
100%.
put any thought into dealing with that? Maybe you have some retail space there, maybe.
Well, that's,
moving
so
those
that's, yeah,
stores.
so that's a good point. So let's go back to the site plan slide that maybe the first
What I
floor.
would say is you have retail.
100.
Maybe moving those stores there.
Well, that they are. So
Or-
here you go. So here's Portugal Place right now. All right, this is the street.
Right.
The sidewalk right now, roughly this depth of this, of the, there's a planted median, then there's a 5-foot or 4-foot, stone walkway. And then this broken line here, that's the property line of the existing buildings. Right here. So we pulled our building back to create a more attractive and utilitarian, I understand, utilitarian sidewalk. We planted retail at the corner so people will feel safer walking past a live retail along here. And then this is gonna be an active driveway. So no, I can't change the way, the Portuguese club interacts with the street, and I can't change the way the next door neighbor interacts with the street. But we can begin the process of improving.
But I'm talking from the Portuguese Place to Frisco. I'm talking to the left.
Heading over to Park.
Heading over to Park, yeah.
Heading over to Park.
Have you,
Okay,
you know,
so,
have you put any thought
we're
into
gonna-
that?
I can't change that. I don't own any of the property. Most of that property is privately owned. There's that derelict property in the middle, right next to the Portuguese
That's
club.
abandoned, yeah.
We need to work on it. We all know who the owner is. The owner is a pretty well-off merchant who owns stores elsewhere in the county and is doing very well for himself. And for whatever reason, he's allowed that property to be derelict. I'm not throwing stones at anybody, but he could do better, and the city and we need to work together. I will say this, at 42 Broad, once we started construction, one of the major commercial strips on Grand Street, just behind us, changed hands, and the owner put in hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate those storefronts and create much more attractive streets and streets there. There's been a lot of investment in commercial storefronts all around that part of Fleetwood. I believe is a direct result of the 42 Broad project. I would expect that to happen here. We are in discussions with some of the property owners, talking to them and encouraging them to think about, either renovating or using their sites as potential new building sites. But, that's a thing that takes years for that to happen. And our first project in Mount Vernon, we started in 2009. So we've now been here 16 years. We plan on staying as long as you'll keep us, as long as you'll work with us, as long as we're welcome. And we're gonna do our best to help transform downtown of Mount Vernon, just as we've tried to help transform.
I mean, even aesthetically, if you could carry the same theme down the street, put street trees in.
We're,
plant them,
so
to that effect.
the total budget for these, the bonus improvement, Brad, remind me, is it 0.5% of the construction cost?
That's correct.
So we're gonna have a construction budget of somewhere in the neighborhood of $110 to $120 million. So 0.5% of that is gonna be somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000. The stuff that I went down on that list isn't gonna cost $500,000 to $600,000. It's gonna cost something less than that. Same thing with 42 Broad. We spent about $270,000 of the 400 on stuff that we had direct control over. I think it's 130. I don't know if the final amount, but roughly 130,000 was left over. That money was transferred to the city to an escrow fund for the city to conduct those traffic enhancements, right? Because the traffic enhancements are all sitting on the property. I expect the same thing can happen here. We'll spend, $200,000 or $300,000 on the stuff that was on our loaner list, the Parks project, the hardening, payments to Con Ed, the hardening, some of the infrastructure, and so forth. But a chunk of that money theoretically could very well be used for the Prospect Avenue corridor or the Elm corridor. There's a lot that can be done to make the Elm Street corridor anything more to the train station to a much more attractive entry point. All the traffic flows from Park to Elm, on the one-way street, you all know, and that could be enhanced significantly. That's up to the city to kind of figure out what they want to do. We can provide the funds. The city has to decide what they want those improvements to actually look like. In our prior submission to you guys, we came up with some ideas on all of those things, and we submitted it to the planning board out of 2018 to 2021. So we have ideas that we would be happy to share with you, and we've already shared with you. And we'd love to be part of cabinet action that makes it happen. We love to happen. It's only the benefit of all. If we can make this area a more attractive area in general, it helps us. It helps us too.
Is there a possibility you could share that again?
I'm saying we want it, yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes, so we can follow up with,
To revisit?
with Frank and ask him to resubmit that section of the planning 2021, just to sort of align with the planning board, what ideas we're going to take back.
So I've got a few items I want to go over. When you were before us for the concept plan, letting us know about, what you were going to propose. We talked about the employment opportunities being similar to what took place at the 42 Broad Street project in terms of the electrician, plumbers, local tradespeople, employing them.
Just for just a minute, I think this is a really, I mean, the main rendering of this building, I think is quite handsome. I'd all encourage you to look closely at this rendering. This is what folks from the train station will see. And people not getting off at Mount Vernon, but are heading up to Stamford or heading down into the city. That's what they're going to see. This is a glorious building. This is a really, really thoughtful, beautifully designed building. And we think it will make an amazing impact on this area of Mount Vernon. And to answer your question, Daryl, we used
For these proceedings, just.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chairman Celsi, my apologies. We used ProTile for about $1 million of tile at 42 Broad. They were fantastic. And I recommend them to anybody in this room that needs Italian porcelain tile or any other kind of tile product. They're located on the south side of Mount Vernon and employ a lot of people from in and around Mount Vernon. We used C. Williams Electric, African-American owned electrician with a largely African-American workforce, a chunk of whom also live in Mount Vernon. He had both the electrical and fire alarm contracts at 42 Broad. Over $6 million of contract went to C. Williams. We've used DDS Plumbing, which is well, they're not that local, but we used DDSO Plumbing, which was a local plumber. We used Ross Windows, which is a local company located on, I think they're on Mount Vernon Avenue. And according to them, we were the first big project they'd ever done in the city. The first large scale project they'd ever been given the opportunity to work on in the city of Mount Vernon. We're happy about that. So that's our track record at 42 Broad, and we expect to do the same thing here. Now, I can't bid for C. Williams, right? I can give him the opportunity to bid, and he has to give me a competitive bid. I can't bid for ProTile. He's got to put in a competitive bid. I can't bid for Ross Windows. They've got to put in a competitive bid. And by the way, Ross is Jewish, but all of the guys that worked on the site were people of color, every single one of them, except for his son. All right. So it's not like just because there's a white owner, he doesn't have employment opportunities for people of color. All of those folks that I mentioned have large workforces of people of color and women.
So the hopes would be, similar, that there would be opportunities for.
We will work very, very hard, Chairman. I promise you, we will work very hard. Again, part of my job, look, we're building fancy building, right? And everybody thinks that's my job. No, my job isn't to build a fancy building. My job is to build a fancy community, an attractive community, a place where people want to come and spend time and spend money. And that's what we accomplished at 42 Broad. We created a beautiful community, and any one of you could walk into that building at any time of day, any day of the week, any month of the year. It wouldn't matter to me. Just tell me you want to show up in 5 minutes, and you will be impressed by what you see. Not just impressed by the attractive physicality of the building, but impressed by what you see socially in that building. I've got elderly women that come down to my pub every day and sit in front of the TV at CNN and do their little chatter. All right. I've got young people that do workouts every day. I've got, little children that use the swimming pool all summer long. We've got everything you would want in a community at 42 Broad. That's what we're going to build there. And part of creating that is who gets to build it and where does the material come? I don't want all my material coming from China, from slave labor and Uyghur. I don't mean, again, I'm not a political person and I'm not going to get political, but I don't believe in that nonsense. And so we've tried we got some of our cabinets from Asia, from South Korea. So we got porcelain tile from Italy and we got, but a lot of the material that we get is from the USA. All the brick is made in the USA, all the sheetrock is made in the USA. So most of the material that we're purchasing is USA manufactured, which is important to me. And a lot of the labor is local labor. And that's important to me too. We want to support. I came out of the community development. I grew up in East Harlem, a community that was devastated by crack and heroin back in the 70s. People ODing in front of me when I was a little child. People raped in my building and me having to deal with it as a 9-year-old in the middle of the night as my father brought that person into the apartment. Those are my experiences as a child. So I'm here to help build a community. I helped rebuild East Harlem over 30 years with Hope Community. And my job here in Mount Vernon is to work with you to solve the issues of Mount Vernon, hand in hand.
Mr. Chairman, just to add on to this topic, the board did make that comment back when it was last before you conceptually. The council was careful to include a condition in its approval that requires the applicant to use commercially reasonable efforts to award construction contracts to local folks. And those efforts require the applicant to host informational sessions in churches and other locations within the city, to package construction contracts and smaller bids to help attract smaller businesses, and to report to the city council on its efforts to fulfill this effort. So I could send that to the board, but that's all baked into the council's approval. It's a requirement. Again, the council did not mandate a percentage, but mandated commercially reasonable efforts as I just described them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And again, Chair, that's no different than what we worked toward at 42 Broad. At 42 Broad, which was a much smaller construction contract. I think we got over $30 million of contracts and materials purchased locally. And I can't imagine that we'll do any worse with this project. In fact, I hope to do even better.
So in terms of the construction timing, staging, all of that, you kind of walk through.
So we're working with a different contractor this time. A contractor that has very, very significant experience with this size and scope of building. I can't mention names just yet because there's no contractual.
That's one time frame.
But yeah, so this is we're hoping to do demolition before construction starts. We hope to get into construction about a year from now. That's our goal. If Perkins Eastman's Young Thoroughbreds can work really, really hard. It's gonna be tough, but we're hoping a year from now, we'll be ready to break ground. And it's a full 2-year build process. We'll probably have a construction schedule that's somewhere between 24 and 26 or 27 months.
And during the construction, how is that going to be in terms of the crane and things of that nature?
Right.
In regards to,
I mean, there's definitely going to be sidewalk closures and there's probably going to be street closure. Or partial street closure. I mean, we're gonna have to work that out with the city, with the administration.
and
It-
like timing
It,
with that, what do you anticipate?
I mean, that's gonna start pretty much at the outset of the project. I mean, look, we don't need to just close, we'll maybe have a selective days to close things down during demo, but those will be very, very fast. But once we're in the ground, starting, the excavation, SOE and foundations, there's almost certainly going to be at least lane closures. And then once we start, we're almost certainly going to have a tower crane. And so as we start the superstructure and need to site a crane, there's almost certainly going to be a lane closure. And what that looks like, I don't know. I mean, you could argue maybe we should just close down Portugal Place, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or whatever it is, because that would probably be the least disruptive to the community as a whole. But again, that's a discussion that we'll have to have.
And building materials, just to have an idea of everything that's going into the design.
Mhm. What, in terms
Just
of
like,
what
bricks,
types of
stucco,
materials? Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I turn that back over to Matt. Matt, can you speak to the?
Then we'll talk about some of the green technology.
So yeah, if you look in this rendering, kind of sums up the materials. Brick is the prominent facade material of the building. It's familiar to the city. The tone of brick that we choose is familiar to some of the red/orange tone brick in the community. And so that is in contrast with the gray metal panel. And so primarily to answer your question, brick, a metal panel, which gives it a little more modern kind of juxtaposition between traditional and modern. Glass for natural daylighting, low E glass. And so we have a naturally ventilated garage, which is on the lower portion. And so we're aesthetically screening that and bringing in what you see there is a vertical louvered wood tone. So it's a little warmer as it's closer to the ground, and the surrounding properties kind of warm up the base of the building more. So, and then as you wrap to the other side on East Prospect, that will be like kind of a traditional perforated metal screen material that's kind of ornate and detailed that will screen the garage and make it visually appealing from the streetscape. And then to kind of ground the base of the building, we'll have a water table, which gives it a traditional kind of grounded feel in between the retail storefronts. So you have a water table of like a cast stone product, and above that is a brick. So some glass for transparency on the ground floor, and interrupted with some brick paneling.
Okay, and some of the green technology that would be in the building.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be all electric, is that correct?
Yes, so well, all electric except for things like the air handling for the main corridors. Those are usually gas fired, makeup air for the corridors. There'll probably be some amenities that have gas, fireplaces, that sort of thing. And the generator, emergency generator will probably be gas fired. We may do cogen, we may not. We're debating that right now. A cogen system is a system that's designed to produce all of our hot water, but it also produces electricity. And at 42 Broad, it's designed to produce all the hot water, heat the pool, heat the swimming pool water, and provide about half the electricity that's consumed on site. So we'll see. We may not have that. The HVAC, the wall perimeters are going to be very high energy efficient materials. I don't know if you can speak to the FAR or not FAR, but the R value.
R values. Yeah, I mean, I think we intend to sort of follow some of the precepts of Passive House in terms of making a highly insulated, air sealed building. I don't think we're going to actually go for Passive House certification. It gets very complicated on a building of this size, but incorporate those philosophies and sort of minimize the amount of energy used by putting in an airtight, well-sealed, well-insulated building. There will be, we anticipate ERVs, energy recovery ventilators that allows us to recapture some of the air that would otherwise be exhausted from corridors, from bathrooms and stuff. That's usually tempered air, is warmed in the winter, cooled in the summer. Why just dump that air out into the building? We use that to recapture some of the heat and cool for the fresh air coming in. Obviously LED light everywhere to minimize electric use. The apartments themselves will probably have some form of VRF heat pump that's electric for making both heat and cool, with condensers on the roof, low flow water fixtures, low flow toilets, minimum 1.2 gallon per flush, and the low flow shower heads and sinks and such.
Windows are able to be.
Yeah, we talked about the electric.
Windows are able to open.
There will be some operable windows. Yeah. But part of the intent of the ERVs is to allow fresh air into the apartment without the need to open the windows and just let the heat
So they'll have
escape.
central air and central heat.
That each apartment will have its own, in such a way, that each apartment would have its own thermostat and be able to control its temperature within a range. You don't get this sort of classic apartment building where people have to open their windows in the middle of the winter because the heat's on and it's either full blast or nothing. So we want to get away from that. I guess I should add, and Matt referred to it, the glass itself will be selected, and probably different types of glass in the different directions based on sun exposure to minimize the heat gain through the windows in the summer. Again, to reduce the amount of electricity needed for air conditioning in the summer months.
Talk a little bit about the amenities. I know that 42 Broad has the gym and of course the pool and the lounge upstairs.
Yeah, and I think we would have similar, we've allocated for a pool up on the 4th floor roof deck. There would be a fitness center. We've also got a roof deck up at the top floors. You may have seen the beautiful views from 42 Broad. We'll have something like that. You can sort of see that in the upper section on the right. We're seeing just in terms of what is prevalent in the market now, we're seeing maker spaces, little workshop rooms where people can work on crafts and stuff. Pet spas is now a popular thing. Something that we've sort of seen develop after we designed 42 Broad are what we call Zoom rooms or workplaces, so that people who work from home have a place to go to conduct a Zoom call or such. It's smaller workspace, it's noise isolated, but they can do that, not disturb their partner or their family in the apartment, have a little change of space.
Talk a little bit about security. That's a challenging place, a little area that we just finished talking about, and I still have concerns about that because you're building this beautiful edifice and we still have a real challenge on the left-hand side. I'm not gonna talk about the stores, but you know what I'm saying on that, along with the complement of parishioners that are there, right? Persons, constituents that are there. So tell me about security. I mean, is there going to be some level of security in this building? Is it going to be some level of security downstairs in the area? Who's going to walk the floors? How are people going to feel safe and secure in their own environment? How is that going?
So there's a lot of smart building stuff that's coming along these days, as you may have heard. This isn't going to necessarily be a fully smart building where you can tell your light bulb to change colors. I'm sorry about that. but, but it will be, there will be a lot of technology in the building. The system that we're currently using for access at 42 Broad, it's called Butterfly. It's a very cool system. You have an app on your phone, you got a security code. And so when anybody is trying to gain access to your apartment, instead of a wall-mounted intercom, it connects to your phone, and you can actually see who's trying to get into the building. So we'll have something like that as a access at all the main access points to this building. The package room will have a similar system, so nobody can just wander into the package room. There'll be security on the access on the package room. The parking will be 24-hour attended parking. And there'll be some level of concierge service at the front desk, whether it's one shift or two shifts. I'm not 100% sure. We have two shifts right now at 42 Broad. And it'll be very well lit. It'll be attractively landscaped. All of those things create sense of security and normalcy. And there'll be a very significant CCTV system. Nicholas oversaw the CCTV planning and install at 42 Broad. How many cameras do we have altogether in the building itself? And then another 20 or 15 or 20 in the parking garage, right? So we have something like 40 to 50 camera locations at 42 Broad. It's pretty hard to sneeze and not get noticed over there. Nothing in the private spaces, so there's nobody poking around in your domain, but in all of the public areas. Oh, and that's the other thing. Yeah. During the day, these are heavily staffed buildings. So you've got maintenance staff, you've got porter staff, you've got management staff, you've got a leasing agent. So there's an on-site property manager and there's a live-in super. So there's a lot of different ways in which the building itself is very secure. But again, our public face is also intended to create a sense of heightened security and heightened normalcy as well.
Washer and dryer in each unit.
Yep.
Okay. And in terms of the security, the camera plan, the exterior plan,
Mm-hmm.
where will those be? Do you have that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's way too early to figure that all out, Chairman, but again, using 42 Broad as it's also a corner building like this. It also, not counting the further down Broad Street and Grand Street entrances, its pattern in the garage is very similar to what's being called, just going in the opposite direction. We enter in Fleetwood and exit at Broad Street at 42 Broad. Here, we're entering from Prospect and exiting on Portugal. Very similar sort of pattern. There's camera points extensively throughout that access area, and then also on the perimeter of the site. So we have, I believe, at the edge of the building where it abuts the Broad Street exit, there's a camera point there that points down onto the street or along Broad Street. There's another one inside the garage that is pointed into the garage area around the side entrance, the loading dock area. So there's another one over by the Fleetwood entry. So there's multiple points where there'll be cameras. In this location, I would imagine the entire sidewalk will have coverage at the perimeter of this site in this particular location. The visual will, yeah, sure. So when you have a camera looking down Prospect, it doesn't stop at our property line. It'll extend down.
Yeah, I was gonna get there.
It'll extend. Correct.
What it is that we're looking for,
Mhm.
the retention, in the event that there is something that, takes place
Yeah.
on the street itself, that the cameras could hopefully aid
100%.
with public safety.
Yes, yes.
And,
Yes, because that camera footage is saved for a period of time. I don't know if it's, I'm not sure. I don't think they save every single minute of every single day for years, but
yeah,
they,
I
but
mean,
they
as long
say,
as we just- we
there's
just-
a lot of footage
we
that
just
gets
ask for minimum of
archived.
60-day retention.
Mhm.
So that if there's something that
Right.
safety needs to
Yep.
look at, that they're able to do that. So it is helpful, for us in terms of, if moving forward, I mean, it would be helpful if we actually knew what your plan was going to be.
I'm, again, all I can say is that it'll be extensive coverage. We haven't designed the building yet, so it's hard to say where we're we're at the very front end of designing a building. And things can change. So I can assure you that we will have coverage of the entire perimeter and that coverage is likely to bleed off-site.
Touched on your, okay, and so the rooftop would be a similar size to.
So we have, yeah, I mean, if you could go back to the slide that shows the site plan, that fourth or fifth slide that shows the rooftop deck and the swimming pool. Right there. No, is it? No, yeah, I'm sorry. Keep going back. Sorry. Keep going. No. But that's the one. Yeah, that we can start there. It's a little.
Okay. So up there you would have barbecue, tables, fire pit.
That have very extensive outdoor amenities, swimming pool, a cooking area, dining areas, probably an outdoor exercise area, and landscaping. We haven't quite figured out the programming for the upper roof yet. There will definitely be landscape, there will definitely have seating areas.
Right.
There's a very large indoor, community room above the white room at that level, where we may have both indoor and outdoor kitchen facilities. We haven't fully worked those details out yet, but they will be attractive. Very attractive.
We have Commissioner Zamora, is he on there?
No, he's talking about.
Oh, no. Somebody on. Yeah. I wanted to, is he still there? I wanted to see whether or not he had any. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go to staff if there's anything that, like at this time, okay? Council?
Any further questions for me?
Okay. Okay, yes, I didn't catch you. Okay.
I mean, I could close I could make some closing remarks at the end of the public hearing if you like.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to see if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak in regard to this applicant. I'm gonna ask you to come up to the microphone and state your name for us, please. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is William Sharif. I am a treasurer of the Board of Directors at the Quincy Co-op, located at 11 Park Avenue. One of the concerns that my constituents have with the proposed property, you explained to us that potentially to have 3 or 4 retail spaces. They're concerned that if any of those retail spaces will be for, because legalize marijuana. So, because right now we have 2 legal marijuana places in Mount Vernon. And we're concerned that one of those retail spaces might be a legal marijuana shop. Okay? I'm glad he brought up the question about riffraff, because it's gotten so bad at the Quincy Co-op, which is literally 600 feet from the proposed site. We had to put up a fence around our building a year and a half ago, because we have vagrants that were urinating on our walls, as well as loud music, people barbecuing on the streets during the summertime. And we have major problems with those stores across the street from our building, which are known to be selling illegal marijuana. You can see cops, I'm sorry, you never see cops over there, but you always see traffic and no one gets a ticket. So that's the problem. So my question to you is, are you gonna allow a marijuana business to occupy any of your retail spaces?
No. If anybody's seen what we've done at 42 Broad, that space has been empty. We opened up the building a year and a half ago. And we've intentionally kept that space empty so that we could find good tenants. We have a School of Rock that just opened up. It's a fantastic program that serves youth, toddlers up to adults. There's over 1,500 of them in the country, and I welcome you all to take a look. It's a beautiful location. They spent a lot of money. And next door, within the next month or so, is a pediatric dentist, a family dental practice. So those are the kinds of businesses that we would try to attract. Again, this is an entry portal for Mount Vernon. The closest thing that we're going to get to a substance is maybe a coffee shop on the corner that would have caffeine in their coffee to help people with their commute, but or maybe a wine bar. But we absolutely have no desire for legal, illegal, or any other kind of marijuana. What you do in your home is your business, but we don't need that on the street.
Also, with security, I made complaints. I even went online to talk about the lighting. Cottage and Prospect is a very what's what I'm looking for. It's not a lit area. It's very dark. So something has to be done with the lighting. Actually, we had detectives come to our building on numerous occasions, whether it was a stabbing on Cottage Avenue, or they had to check our cameras for a shooting on Prospect Avenue. So, something that definitely has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else would like to please come up? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Scarambolo. I own Deanna Realty, 63 East First Street, or referred to as 0 Prospect Avenue. My concern is I have a small construction company. I was born in Mount Vernon. I've been there about 30 years. And my guys, I have about 15 to 20 employees, seasonal. And we have problems parking as it is now. And I understand the math is 350 units. If it's anything like me and my wife, we both have our own cars. If there's 2 cars per person, that's 700 cars. I understand they have 260 units. I just think there's no way you're fitting all those cars there. I don't know if I can be of help to you guys if you want to get my number later, but perhaps that would be a better facility for excess parking. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Liz Ferreira. I'm the president of the Portuguese American Club next to you guys. I'm looking forward to something new because we do need a facelift. The issue is, yes, parking, because now you're going to be taking a couple of parking spots on that side where the garage is. There's already a problem where the tenants in the building on Portugal Place between Elm Avenue and whatever were parking. Even for me, I have 10 or 11 spots in my club and I still have members and, people that come to visit on the weekends because we're only open Thursday to Sunday right now. And we also have kids that come to attend Portuguese school here on Fridays. And normally they have to park, they have to go up Cottage Avenue, Park Avenue. Sometimes they park 2-3 blocks away. Or I'll even walk, I live on Summit and Clinton Place and I'll sometimes leave my car home just to walk there and then hitch a ride going home. So parking is an issue there, definitely. I know on Prospect Avenue at 4 a.m, they stop allowing us to park in that area. And then that's the only time I see the police come down to give out parking tickets at 4 a.m. But he's correct. In that strip from where the building is next to me, that's been abandoned for so many years, the trash there is horrendous. I've been the president for the 6 years and I've been trying to get in touch with the owner, the landlord of that building to try and work with him about cleaning it up. I clean my alleyway in the back from going inside the side of the building to cut the grass, things like that. They don't. If you go look through the fence that's mesh, it's just trash there. I'm very particular making sure that the club is, I have my exterminator there every 2 to 3 weeks, just to make sure I don't get mice, insects, whatever. I keep a very clean and organized building, but it doesn't help having that building. The trash that's in there is horrendous. I leave the lights on at the Portuguese Club on that corner to be lit up because in the past, when they turned it off, it's extremely dark, that corner, and it is not safe. After everyone gets off by the train, 7, 8 o'clock, it's very deserted. You see, and then between that building that's next door until you get to Park Avenue, even where the Quincy building is, yes, there's a very dark shadow there. There's a tree there. It causes a huge shadow. I have members and constituents that come visit the club that will not walk from that side of the building to the corner. They'll either walk in the street or, we do a buddy system. We'll walk out with 2 people, 3, so that way they feel safe going in. Sometimes I suggest using the parking lot down by where La Placita is across the street from Popeyes, that parking lot. During the day, it's fine. At nighttime, it's not safe and no one feels comfortable. And no one feels comfortable going to do the walkway over on the train track to use the parking lot over at the train station either. Yes, for the past, I know there was homeless people, especially when it was hot and cold, that they would sleep at the train station, but they do. They come down the street, they go up against the building, do their business. I don't want to even say what it is. And it's sad, but and I'm trying to help the community, and the homeless that's in that area, but it's not safe. It really is not safe at night there. And by the time I leave there, when we have events, it could be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And like I said, we have to have a buddy system so that way no one feels unsafe coming into the building. And that is an issue. And yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys, that corner, that whole area needs a facelift. It really does. And I'm willing to work with you guys as well as with us. Just to let you know, that street does have a bus route that comes on there every day from Monday to Saturday. So, that'll, no, on also Portugal Place. It goes through the train station. It comes right up to that, down the street, comes through there. So yes, when you back up, yeah, maybe my parking, my sign might be an issue for your trucks to back in because they're going to come out that way, but we can try and work together, so I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Okay.
Thank you. Sure. Then the gentleman with the hat. So actually, no, let me just bring everybody and then we'll talk.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is George Foster. Good evening. I bought the last brownstone that was for sale over there on Prospect Avenue. I'm one of your new residents in Mount Vernon from Brooklyn. The brownstone that I live in over there at Prospect, there are no parking. I turned it down 3 times when it was for sale because of the parking. Me and my fiance, we debated over it. She has a son that goes to the school on Grammerton, so she pretty much talked me into I refused it because of the parking situation. But at times when I would come home at night, I would just be lucky to either catch like the sweet spot parking or maybe somewhere 2-3 blocks away. But now, this building here that they're building up, it looks beautiful, it sounds nice and all, but I know it's gonna be hard for me and the neighboring, Brownstone residents that occupy that Brownstone, because again, we don't have only the two end, what the owners of the ends of each end, they have parking. I don't. I visited some of the neighbors within the area, tried to pay for a temporary permanent parking, which to no avail for me. I know there'll be some sort of parking gouging as soon as this building goes up, because I know there will be no parking, and that's like my major concern. I know when construction goes up, right in front of my household, I know that there's gonna be chaos. There probably won't be any parking in front of my house, which I park my car. I work for the Transit Authority. I utilize the Metro North at times, and sometimes I work up in the Bronx where I have to move my car, and it's just hard for me now. And I know it would be a up and coming nightmare for me when this building goes up. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Andrade, property manager for 29 Elm. That is where Caribbean Sofa of Delight is, where the brewery was, Double Door Events. When you guys breaking ground, because I can't wait a year. Seriously, that area has been, it's dead. It's dead. The city needs 300 something units that these guys want to put up. The brewery had no traffic when they were operational. I can't even say how many people actually do events at Double Door Event Space. It's a gorgeous space. My family and I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into that building alone. New plumbing, new waste, new water, new everything. Infrastructure is top notch compared to what we bought it for back 9 years ago. These guys need to be hitting ground, making ground, breaking ground this year, because the area needs something like this. The area has no traffic whatsoever ever since COVID. We bought this area specifically because of the train ridership. When we bought it, was 47 million people going from Manhattan up to Connecticut. Now I don't even know what the number is right now. It has been so dwindling that it's from buying it back in 2016 to now, it's 180-degree like turnaround for the negative. You know, back when we bought it, the city wanted to do the artwork, they want to do the maker space, they want to do all this stuff. Nothing ever happened. You know, we've been there for 9 years trying to see our building through, hearing about them building those taking those 3 houses down, doing the improvements. By the way, great idea to widen the sidewalk, because that sidewalk needs it. The street needs paving. I can't tell you, every single year, every 6 months, that street has to get paved because that bus route that goes right through. Every single time. And the trucks, and the trucks, and the trucks. There's been so many times where, you know, you guys have to close down the street, and then the bus has to go down Elm Avenue, which is not fun to go down even as a residential car.
Well, we here
Yeah.
or twice a year for social events, block parties for the community.
But it's still both narrow streets for those things there, you know? But for them to build this building over there, it helps the community so much more than in helping our business and helping a property owner like myself actually see 300 new faces 700 new faces possibly coming up and down the block. We've added lighting onto our building to help on Portugal Place, to help it be brighter and lighter so people can walk down the block without feeling like they're going to get mugged. Even we try to push people to go to the train station to park, you know, because there is free parking on the weekends. Not many people know that, but what is it? Lighting, security, cops, MTA. I don't know what the MTA does over there, but sure as hell doesn't help anyone in the city of Mount Vernon. I can't tell you how many times the cops have come to my building to say, saw a guy come off the train station, coming up the block, could we check your cameras? You know, it's not, you're not coming out of my building, coming off the train. So what is the MTA doing for the city of Mount Vernon? You know, what is the parking lot actually doing? You have 2 municipal lots. Parking was a big issue, right? You have 300 spots amongst the train station and the municipal lot. You could probably have another 150 if you just tore down the building next to the Portuguese Place, because that building has been derelict ever since we bought the building 9 years ago. I met the owner once, and just tried to have a conversation with him. just coming in with his car and backing out. I haven't seen him since. Homeless people live in that building. Homeless people have been sleeping in our alleyway, which we share. You know, I can't tell you how many times it's seeing just feces and this and that, just disgust back there behind where, you know, we have garbage, we have infrastructure where the brewery had their chiller system. Your oil tank is right there, exactly.
And I'm scared. I used to go back there just to check it for deliveries. I don't go back there because someone climbs over the fence on my side, walks there, and then early in the morning by 6:30, they're outside and and they wait out there or they'll sit on the curb or they'll just walk around. For me, I don't feel comfortable.
We've put in between that property, the Dareth property and where we share that alleyway, we installed probably at least a 16, 20-foot high fence. They still hop it somehow. And on top of that, razor wire. They still get through it. And in the front too, where you enter off of Portugal Place into the alleyway, we've installed another fence over there too, with their fence also.
And I have an issue with that because when he put his fence up there, we have an alleyway on front of Portugal Place where my building is here, and there's an alleyway that we share. I have emergency exits that come out, so if I have people that have to come out.
As do I.
They're gonna get in the parking lot, guess what? They can't go because push bar he got rid of it and put a chain link fence. And when he had workers there, I asked him, please have they gonna call me because he wasn't returning any of my calls. To this day, if I ever had, God forbid, a fire that people had to exit the right side of the building facing it, they're gonna be caught inside the parking lot because it's chain link from one side to the
All right,
other.
so in that instance, you contact the fire department? Okay, right, okay, the fire department and the building department, those two departments.
But the city,
let Public safety knows.
but this is,
That's
that building has been like that for more than 9 years, 15 years. I think probably when I was in my early 20s, probably.
That's a building department. plan that you have to really
It's
base
a
it on.
planning department also, because how, we don't let these guys jump through hoops because they want to build something that's gonna
Yeah,
help the
I mean,
community,
It's,
right?
unfortunately, it's not planning, it's really the building department, because they have to enforce if the building is derelict, and things of that nature. That's something that they have to deal with.
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
listen, I understand.
No, I'm
and-
just
and I
I'm
appreciate it.
just
I-
trying to
I
like,
know.
yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, but they would be the body because
Yeah.
they could actually find, the landlord and get the person to kind of clean up and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I would reach out.
But-
I would reach out to the building department as often as you can,
But I mean,
because if you
there
keep
is,
doing that, somebody will respond.
but there is parking there, but in terms of what they want to do there, I'm 100% for it. As a building owner, as having 2 minority-owned businesses currently in my building that need the support from the local community, from, seeing how the area has changed ever since COVID, when we first came in there, like, this is something that, like you said, needs a facelift, needs something new. They want to widen the sidewalk and they want to, and help out our little area right there, which should be the corridor of the, Metro North on that side, at least of Mount Vernon, the north/south side, right? Because that is the border almost,
Right.
right? So, but that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here like to please come up and speak in regard to this application?
Good evening. My name is
Good
Julie
evening.
Worthy. I live in the neighborhood. I've learned a lot from your presentation. My concern, I'm going to echo the concerns of my neighbors about parking. Parking is very, very unavailable in the neighborhood. It is expensive to purchase. And I do not see how this project is really taking that into consideration. During the construction, even for your staff, where are they going to park? Because it doesn't seem to be, the numbers don't seem to match the scale of this project. My other concern is that we ask that your committee make sure that while this project is under construction, that our neighborhood remains safe. It is going to become, in my opinion, a target. You're going to have construction equipment. People are going to come and want to maximize the opportunities that construction site might present. And I just want the committee to make sure that the neighborhood is considered and the safety of the residents is considered with that process. But particularly that I don't know when the study, I don't recall hearing when your parking study was conducted? It sounded like you had a review in 22. It was
Yeah.
done in 2024?
And just to clarify, I'm legal counsel for the planning board. I'm not.
No,
here on
but you were
behalf of the
familiar with the
applicant. Yeah, I'm
report. I
familiar,
just
right.
thought
So
you might
the
know.
report, and I could double check again when the counts were taken. I believe they were updated, data collected in 2024.
So there was a study and then updated in 24.
Yes, but I would have to double check that, but I believe that's the case. And I see the applicant, I see the applicant nodding.
And just so that you're made aware also in terms of the reason, why there are, fewer spaces for that is because it's being developed in a transit-oriented development zone. And so you find that more people tend to take, public transportation. And so that's kind of how they come up with the numbers for parking.
So the assumption is that the people who are going to live there are not going to require the parking
Obviously,
spaces.
there are, people that, but.
It
but-
feels unrealistic. I do
but
understand the
you get But you
concept.
get a lot of people that, listen, you have people that come from within, Mount Vernon, but Brooklyn, Manhattan, where, a lot of them don't have cars. And so they do, take the train or they take Lyft or Uber or things of that nature. So that's why you won't see as many parking spaces there. Did you want to add something, Mr. Alexander? Sure.
Well, yes, that is a concern. That is a concern. It feels to me that it is going to, while you describe many improvements, a change to the character of our neighborhood. I want you to know that I do resent my working class neighbors being referred to as riffraff. Well, I've lived in that neighborhood for a long time. I do see the people that congregate in that area. And while it is problematic, I think that that is not being taken into consideration. I think that the impact of this project on the neighborhood is going to require the city of Mount Vernon to commit to some major attention to that neighborhood. And I don't hear that that is being done or being considered. And without that support that our neighborhood is going to need while this is going on and afterwards, it feels ill-advised to me. And so I'm hoping that the committee will take the time necessary to really go in deep with these issues and make sure that the needs of my community and my neighborhood and my neighbors are really taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the presentation and the documents, are they available for public review?
Yes.
And how do we do that?
So, on the city website, first of all, you can contact Ms. Pace tomorrow and she could also direct you. But on the city website, there is find your way to the city council page.
Mhm.
And in the left-hand side, there's a pull-down menu. And the last link is entitled zoning projects
Okay.
and public hearing correspondence. That was the city council's record. And the last project is called the Mount Vernon East zoning amendment. So the September 2024 submission that contains the full
Mhm.
traffic study, the plans and everything else is at least on the city council's website page. Marie, is everything on the planning board site as well?
Yeah, on the page for today's date and meeting, I always post all the application materials there. So if you go back to today's date
Mhm.
on that page, and you'll see the application materials for this project.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one other point I just wanted to make. The description of the, you said it's a point of a percent that you have to spend on the space that would be considered public improvement, a community space. It feels very meager. It does not seem to be sufficient for the scale of this project. It doesn't feel as if there's much green accessible to the community. What the tenants are going to enjoy sounds amazing. I'm sure they're going to love it. But in terms of what the community might be able to experience and enjoy, it feels very meager to me. So I'm hoping that you'll review that and see if there can't be some expansion of what benefits to the neighborhood, we can receive. All right, thank you.
So, Mr. Alexander, if you could respond.
Thank you. All right, so there's no question that parking this site during construction is going to be a challenge. And we may very well need to work with this gentleman and other folks in the community. We're going to be working with various folks in the community throughout the next several years on various aspects of this thing. And that's just one example. Going back to the, I don't know, is that Community Impact Fund? I'm not sure what, Brad, the terminology was used for that 0.5%. Is there a nomenclature that we should use for that?
I believe community betterment, but I'll double check that.
Okay, so the Community Betterment Fund. So look, we listed 4 items that we think are top of list. And those 4 items are going to cost, you know, 200, 300, whatever. They're going to cost what they're going to cost. It's not going to be the full 600, 500 to $600,000. Yeah. That's what so let me get to it. That's exactly my point. So let me get to it. So as with 42 Broad, there were some things that the city council and the planning board specifically required us to do. But it turned out that the neighborhood had other ideas and other things happened once we started construction. As a, for instance, the sidewalk on the west side of Fleetwood Avenue was a wreck. It was impassable. We had to close down the sidewalk on our side of the street. We were asked to put in a brand new sidewalk along the entire length of the block, not on our property, not in front of our property, on the opposite side of the street. And we spent, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000 putting in a new sidewalk on the west side of Fleetwood Avenue. The point is to Commissioner Trujillo and to this previous speaker is there is going to be an opportunity to decide what those betterments are, whether it, and to this gentleman's point, the gentleman from the building on the corner, is he still here? Or do you leave? There you are. Yeah. So can some of this money go to lighting along Portugal Place? Can some of this money go to paving the sidewalk the rest of the way from our property line to the corner of Portugal and Elm? Can we put additional light posts in that location? Or can we put additional light posts and perhaps some other streetscape improvements along Elm from Park to Portugal Place, so that on the weekends when there is parking there, people can park and feel safe and walk to this gentleman's establishment? Same thing along Prospect between Portugal and Park. The riffraff I was speaking about was the same riffraff this gentleman was speaking about, not the good, hardworking people in that neighborhood, but the riffraff that's selling pot and other substances illegally in front of those stores on Prospect. So the good, hardworking people in that neighborhood are the people that I want to help find relief from that nonsense. So we want to engage in dialogue, and whether it's under the purview of this committee or some group of other of neighborhood residents and other interested parties, we want to be in dialogue about how to spend that money, because we want to spend that money in a way that enhances the life of that neighborhood, whether it's new lighting, whether it's additional landscaping, whatever those things are. And that's why, as I mentioned to Nicholas earlier, we'll share with you some of the ideas that were presented to you 3 years ago and that you probably haven't seen in a long time. And that can get the dialogue going. It's not an exhaustive list, but it gives you some idea of the things that were brought up back then and can be brought up again now and added to. So that's the community betterment piece. In terms of parking, just a little history about 42 Broad and current statistics on 42 Broad. We had the municipal garage that is the former municipal garage that was owned and operated by the city on privately owned land at 42 Broad. had a capacity for about 430 spaces when we took it over. It had 238 permit holders. The city was losing $175,000 a year operating that garage and had $0 in the 2015 budget for maintenance. We took over the garage. We spent about $50,000 initially just cleaning it up, fixing the lighting, putting up better signage, and making it known that it was now a privately operated 24-hour attended facility. We went from 250 spaces to over 350 spaces within about 9 months. We conducted a $3.5 million renovation. It now has a capacity for 400 and I think 405 cars. So the capacity was reduced because we added retail in the base along Broad Street to enliven the streetscape. And that's where the School of Rock and the pediatric dentist are actually located. But those 405 spaces now accommodate over 450 permit holders and over 50 transient users a day. So we have 500 users a day in a 400-car capacity garage. Chairman Celsi, how the hell is that possible? And the answer is shared parking. Okay. We have 200 of the 400, 170 of the current parking spaces. No, it's not 170, it's 140. 140 of the 450 permits are residents of my building. All right, let's go through the math. I have a 250 unit building that's 90% rented and a little over 80% occupied. That means we have over 200 tenants living in the building. And yet only 140 cars are being parked in the garage by my 200 tenants. It's 0.7. It works out to 0.7. All right. So going back to your comments earlier, Chairman Celsi, yes, people that are renting these modern apartments in these modern buildings for $2,000 to $6,000 a month don't all have cars. Yes, we have a few tenants that have 2 cars, and we have a lot of tenants that have no cars. And then we have a lot of tenants that have 1 car. All right. The garage at Mount Vernon East for this project was designed for half a space for studios and 1-bedroom apartments. I think it's 0.7 or 0.75 spaces for 2-bedroom units and 0.9 spaces for 3-bedroom units. And that worked out to 205 spaces. We have a 226, so we added a cushion. We have 226 spaces, and we have headroom for at least 20 mechanical lifts if it comes to that. So I could easily park at the end of the day about 250 cars in this garage. And we believe at the end of the day that of the 350 residents, we're going to get, again, about a 0.7 utilization rate. So that works out to, somebody help me with the math, that was 200 and something cars, 350 times 0.7, help me, somebody quick. Okay, so at the absolute maximum, we expect 245 cars. All right, so we have the ability to park them, and that's the total number of cars that may choose to be on the site. The other thing that's important to note is that the actual utilization of the garage maxes out at only about 75% of those permit holders. The most people we have in the car is at midnight. And on any given night at 42 Broad, we have 350 to 360 cars. We count every single night. A person goes around and counts the cars in the garage and at midnight. So every single night, I could go back a year and tell you, if you ask me how many cars were there on December 3rd, 2022, I have that number and I could give it to you. And it's been going up as we've rented up the building. You know, a year ago, it was 315, 320, and now we're up to 350 to 360. But I'm 90% leased, and I'm still at only 350 to 360 cars in the garage on any given night. And I don't expect to get to a point where I actually need to do valet parking in the near term, even though that's part of our plan at 42 Broad. So I think long-term, we're going to actually provide capacity for people in the neighborhood to rent spaces in this garage, as we have at 42 Broad.
And then with valet, what would be the full capacity there?
Well, so that's with valet, as Stuart mentioned, that's if we went to full valet where we had no self-park spaces at all, we'd probably push 300. Okay, so right now we have, it's sort of a hybrid where I think it was 140 spaces roughly. Okay, so 144 self-park and 60 valet. If we went to a full valet model, we'd probably be able to park at least 300 cars, because then you're parking cars in the aisles and in dead corners and that sort of thing. So easily over 300 cars. And look, if, again, going back to 42 Broad, the city was charging less than $100 a permit. And we're charging a lot more than that now. But the service is there. Folks are getting a safe, well-lit, fully attended garage. And I know not 100% of the people are happy, but 450 permit holders is a lot more than the 230 that were renting from the disaster of a garage that was there 10 years ago. So we think that overall, we think it's a real benefit to the city and to the neighborhood to have a well-run, safe, modern, attractive garage that's available to the public.
I was going to jump in with one quick question just to clarify. I'm sorry, sir. How many parking spaces, just to clarify the numbers?
There's 226 in the current plan,
Yep.
of which 144, maybe his math is off, but it's 226. Yep. Right.
I just want to do some. So drawing, let me see, it's a GSP 001 has, just to clarify, and I guess confirm this is correct, that the standard parking is 144 spaces, the valet is 82.
Okay, 82.
For-
Sorry
for-
about
for a
that.
total-
Thank you.
for a total
Thank
of
you.
226.
That adds up better. Thank you. Right. All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak in regard to this application? Please come on up. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I don't want to keep everyone for too long. My name is Ebony. I am a resident. I've been a resident for 15 years. And yes, that building across from the Portuguese Center is atrocious, as they stated. I stand before you because I am a resident that works from home directly across the street from the construction, from the proposed site. And I work directly across the street, so I'm concerned about the noise pollution that it's going to create and notification of when the demolitions are going to begin and whether you guys are going to constantly, the time frame of 8 to 4 p.m. was put out there that you guys would potentially be working, but the schedules are not set. So I'm just concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the rerouting and street closures, being that I live right across the street from the building. There are 2 entrances. There is on-site parking for my particular building. And at times, those parking entrances have been closed due to particular events going on. So we would like some sort of ample notification, or maybe I'm supposed to go to a website to find out, to get the information about the closures or the rerouting. But though that particularly is my concern, and as a proposal, it may not matter, but at the building that's next to the Portuguese Center, for the owners that you guys aren't able to track down, I've been seeing that building for 15 years. And maybe that could be a parking site or a parking garage or something, maybe. But that's pretty much it. Wanting notification about construction, demolition, time frame, scheduling, because I work from home, and I'd like to continue to work from home. And consider, of course, there's going to be noise, but not that is straight through from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, but there would be some sort of consideration towards breaks in between there. So maybe I could get some calls in or so, but that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Anybody else that would like to speak in regard to this application? Do we have anybody on? No? Okay. Okay. Good, okay. Okay. Come back over here.
I'll be brief. Julie, was that your name? So just to clarify, so that the traffic counts to establish the baseline existing conditions were conducted in February of 2024. So just want to clarify that. The parking, obviously there's been a lot of discussion on the parking tonight, just to remind the board and the public. The parking was fully studied by the city council as part of its environmental review, during which the parking ratio and the parking requirement was established. So appreciate all the comments, and we can certainly have some more discussion about it, but the ratio was fixed by the city council as part of the secret environmental review that was completed previously. My last just simple housekeeping request, I would ask the applicant to please submit to Ms. Pace a copy of the presentation for the record that was presented on the screen this evening. Thank you.
Please.
I just wanted to make sure that, it is absolutely taken in consideration that area, the challenged area that we talked about. It is vitally important that we have that at the forefront. I don't know the plans. I wasn't on the board maybe at that time, so I probably need to have the opportunity to review. But that area, and I know that we may not use the right terminology. I understand that, and I hear you. However, there's a concern. And everyone in this room recognizes there's a concern. I know that we have working constituents, but there's also a different level of constituents that's kind of challenged. And we need to address it. Seriously, it needs to be addressed. So I'm just hoping that you will consider that as part of your package as you present. Thank you.
I just would like, I know you mentioned you had some potential improvements or something that could be done for the area. I'd just like to see if we can get a list, just so we can put something together as well, as we move forward. But, otherwise I don't have any more additional questions at this time.
So lighting seems to be, extremely important. And I think that, we all agree, it's kind of years ago, Times Square was not the prettiest place. Now it looks like Vegas. It's bright, it's lit up, it looks like daytime. And, people feel safe, walking in Times Square. So lighting, does have a very positive effect in terms of deterring a certain element that is of a concern, to everybody. So, a development of this scale, certainly helps because there's more traffic, there's more light. And if it's not just on the property, but on some of the surrounding streets right there, improving that would go a long way in terms of, certainly, I think addressing and helping to alleviate that concern. They'll probably go someplace else, but there won't be, your problem anymore. There'll be somebody else's problem. And, the city, I think, would be concerned. City council has weighed in on this. City council has approved, the text amendment to allow for development of this size and scale. And with that being said, there would be a commitment from not only council, but from administration to certainly, make sure when somebody makes a type of investment like this in the city, it's in the city's best interest to make sure that the community at large, is taken care of in their concerns. So the community benefit that we've been talking about, lighting, I think would certainly be a strong give back to the residents in the area. So that's something that we would like to explore further, with the applicant to make sure that, what we can do, obviously in conjunction with the city, but I think that that's something that they would certainly be agreeable with, because it only makes sense. Everybody wants to live in a safe environment. And if we can provide that and help to, and that's what we try to do when applications come before us, try to help make improvements. Construction, listen, I mean, I think everybody would be telling the story. They're gonna be disruptions to everyone's life who lives there, for a while. But the overall benefit when it's finished, I think it's something that we try everything, whether it's a small scale development or it's a large scale development, to see what we can do to help enhance the surrounding area. Not just thinking about the applicant in the building, but what we can do to help in the area as a whole. So that's kind of my 2 cents I'd like to add. Like to know, as Commissioner Zamora, do you have anything that you would like to add for? Okay, all right. Well,
Not at this time, thank you.
there we go. Is there or no?
He said not at this time.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. That's a rarity.
Well, there's quite a few. I figured it was a long presentation, and I'll let everyone sort of like recoup and unpack this.
You said it was a long presentation and you'd like to have time to unpack it with you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. But we always appreciate your valuable insight. So I am sure that after this evening, you will have a laundry list for us.
Yes, I've been taking some notes, but I appreciate actually all of the concerns of the residents and the points that were made, and especially a lot of their comments. I feel that the planning department should transfer over to someone in city government. I'm not sure which agency, maybe the mayor's office can get a lot of that to bring the challenges and the issues to that area to the city if they don't already know it. And if they do, then why aren't they doing something about it, especially the derelict building that has been posing a lot of issues and challenges to the neighborhood now. How are these things left alone for so long? And I know that you implored to them to contact the building department, which we all know in Mount Vernon right now is, let's just say, has some ways to still go before they could become as efficient as we would like them to be. So that really was troubling for me to hear, especially as, these are all taxpayers. They're all residents who deserve to enjoy a better quality of life and peace and quiet enjoyment, which does not seem to be the case. So I do feel that more development in this area, such as this building, will definitely help in that and in pushing out the criminal element when there's more activity, more cameras, more light on the street. So it's definitely going to be a good thing. The Broad Street Development Project seemed to be pretty successful as far as I've heard. So a lot. But again, the situation in the area doesn't have to. We don't have to wait for the development of the building for safety and quality of life to be improved by the city government, for us to leave these residents basically struggling and fending for themselves. I mean, they do pay taxes, and they should have a government representing their interests to ensure that they have a peaceful, safe environment in which to do business and to live in.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Zamora.
You're welcome. Thanks.
You know, one thing that we are going to do is we're going to make a recommendation that the city and the building department look into that property that everyone's been addressing this evening to see what can be done in terms of holding the landlord accountable to bringing that building either, you know, up to a certain I guess, present itself a lot better, fix it up, or sell it, or do something, you know, with that property. And so we will look to see whether or not there's anything that can be done in terms of finding the owner of that property until they come in compliance and actually clean up the outside area, things of that nature that you've been talking about as well. So that only helps everybody. So that's something that we will do. And
My idea would be to condemn it and seize it.
yeah, I mean, we can certainly, you know, whether they'll do that or not, but I don't disagree with you. So, but at least we will, you know, make the city aware of the concerns of the residents in the immediate area. And hopefully, you know, and the next meeting, hopefully we'll be able to respond back in terms that they've done something. Okay. So if you could share with us also some of the things from the last, you know, that would be very helpful. And that way we can kind of
That's a starting point.
figure out.
It's not
Correct.
anything at all to be,
Right.
this is what we're gonna do. It's to say, let's get a conversation going.
Right.
Let's put it
Right.
together.
And one thing, no, you got to come back up here. All right, but I'm gonna just say something before you come back up. So, you know, one of the things when I was talking about the lighting plan for the building and the cameras for the building, you know, because that helps promote safety in the entire area. Okay, because the cameras are going to pick up activity. The lighting, like I see how bright is here, you know, that's going to help. Nobody you know, likes it, just like Times Square. They're gonna move to a darker place. So if you make it light and bright, they're gonna go somewhere else. And so, you know, that's the goal. That's the goal is safety. That's why we always, with every application, we want there to be a benefit to the residents in the immediate area. Okay, so now.
One of the things, actually, Chair, that I was thinking, and I'm gonna leave it at just one thing, because I know it's late and everyone wants to go home. But I remember on the McQuestion Parkway developments, we did have the development group work with the city in terms of a new street post lighting for those buildings along McQuestion there, because that area was very dark as well, and it was we were concerned about it being dangerous at night. I don't know. This is maybe something the planning department may know, if the city has a proposed lighting scheme in terms of new lanterns, lighting posts for this development area, that we could create some type of consistency, especially with the sidewalk expansion here, that we would have some type of consistent lighting scheme for this new the development zone. Because we wouldn't want it to be where, let's say, the Alexander Group puts their type of lighting, and then the next group puts on their type of lighting, and it becomes a mishmash, hodgepodge of different street style lighting for that particular area. So if that has not been considered yet, I would implore the city Alexander Group to come up and devise a lighting scheme for a particular lamppost that everyone in that area would then use, and in their development projects, they would implement on either expanded sidewalks or on the sidewalk. So it's not just emanating from the building necessarily in a sconce type wall mount, but it is more of a lantern, standalone lantern type on the sidewalk, post. So this is something that we really need to coordinate early, as this is going to be one of the early developments that could set the standard for the future developments in the area.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, Ebony again from the community, 15 years resident. Will any of the units be for sale or are all of the units for rental? And how soon do you take public inquiry or interest in those who are interested in either renting or purchasing any of the units?
So this will be a 100% market rate rental property, with studios starting somewhere close to $2,000 a month. One bedrooms in the mid 2000s, two bedrooms probably close to 3,000 at the starting point, and three bedrooms probably close to $5,000. Okay, we'll be paying full taxes. We'll be paying a permit fee probably close to $1.6 million. We'll probably be paying a mortgage recording tax of several $100,000 to the city, and we'll probably pay sales tax during construction of several $1 million to the city as well. So there's pots in addition to that community betterment pot. And the reason I'm mentioning this to you now, Commissioner, is there's lots of pots of money that a market rate development contributes to the economy of the city while it's being put up, millions and millions of dollars. And so if the planning board has an interest in doing improvements beyond the $500,000 or $600,000 of community betterments in the area of the Mount Vernon East train station, which again, anything that improves the safety, the sense of safety, the sense of ambiance in that neighborhood is good for us. So we are allies in that effort. And so we would welcome anything that you can do to help speed up some resolution with the property owner next to the Portuguese Club. We're with you. Anything that you want to do to advocate for more thoughtful spending on the infrastructure in that area, we are with you. And once we get going with this project, we'll be contributing, again, millions of dollars to the budget of the city temporarily, only during the construction period. But then every year, once we're fully stabilized, $1 million a year in property taxes and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in sales tax will be generated by this building. This one building will contribute close to 1% of the entire city budget. It's a lot of bucks.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. And the timing of that, with respect to rentals, typically we'll start our marketing effort 6 months before we open. So again, if based on the timing that we talked about, our goal would be to break ground by March, let's say March, April of next year. We would begin actually moving residents into the building April, May, June of 2028, which means we'd start the marketing effort probably towards the end of 2027. So we'd start a marketing effort towards the end of 2027 and start actually accepting applications sometime in the early spring of 2028. That would be the goal.
That's all I have.
I have nothing further substantively. If you would like to discuss process, I'm happy to, or.
We're good.
We're good.
Okay, our next meeting is May 7th. Probably will communicate, I'd like to communicate in terms of some of the things that from the previous project, some of the community benefits, and then to come up with some other additional ideas. So that, okay, so we can do that, and, trying to think of it. There was one thing, and I just can't remember.
Mr. Chairman, we could talk after the meeting and put together a short memo on behalf of the board to send to the applicant of certain pieces of information that we want clarification on prior to the continuation of the hearing on May 7th.
That's perfect, because one of these things is like, I can't remember what it is right now, so yes.
It's too late. It's been too long. We'll figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah, so we will do that. We will in the next few days, certainly by next week, have that memo, sent over to you. And if there's anything,
as soon as we have it sent
Right.
out. We won't wait for the memo.
and then anything that, that we, need, from you for the next, meeting, so you have it ahead of time, so that can be, taken care of. All right, okay. So, make a motion that we adjourn the application until the May 7th.
Make 7. Second.
You're not taking the vote now.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much for everyone's time this evening. Greatly appreciated. Huh? I didn't adjourn yet. I didn't adjourn it because I have to look at the thing and see if we had anything else. Frank, we still have one thing to take care of.
Nice to meet you. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, wow, I love it. Thank you, thank you.
When Frank is done, it won't be long.
Is this yours?
Okay, we still have one other item. We still have one other item to go over. We're still live, right? Okay, okay. No. We've got one other thing to take care of. Okay, so, okay. I'm sorry. We have one thing that, okay, all right. Okay, so, this is in regards to resolution that we had asked to be drafted in regards to the Terrace Avenue. That was, what is the address on that? 420? 420 North Terrace Avenue.
420 North Terrace.
Right,
yes.
so, just wanted to make a motion for. I'll wait for the finish. So, there we go. Okay, all right, so, I think we can hear. Gonna make a motion in regards to the site plan resolution for 420 North Terrace Avenue. That we, approve the resolution and allow for a couple of minor edits from our council, McKechnie, to, make some minor amendments to it, and then for it to be signed. Okay? That's my motion. Okay, there's a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you. Make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, aye.